2026 is going to be a monumental year. The astrology is action-packed, and in particular, the planet of transformation and rebirth, Pluto, will be extremely charged up and activated in the year of 2026. I mean, as soon as we kick off 2026, it'll start to really build momentum. And the reason why Pluto is going to be a very key planet to watch out for in the year of 2026 is because the nodes will shift signs. The North Node, which is our destiny, our future, the timeline we're headed towards, will be moving into sign of Aquarius, the same sign Pluto is in. The South Node, which is the past, what we're leaving behind, what we're moving away from, what we're transforming from, will be in the sign of Leo. And what's so major is the destiny point, the timeline that we're meant to be on, and Pluto coming together. This is the age of Aquarius. This is when we will start to see those shifts that we've been waiting for. And we're also going to have the eclipses in the sign of Aquarius, where the North Node will be, and in the sign of Leo, where the South Node will be. Aquarius is a major energy. It's a humanitarian. It's about humanity. It's about the collective consciousness. It's about freedom, independence, sovereignty, innovation, technology. And we're going to have the eclipse in the sign of Aquarius. The North Node will be in Aquarius. Pluto will be in Aquarius in the year of 2026. That is something to watch out for because a lot will change by the end of 2026. And in this video, I'm going to give you an overview of 2026 and the astrology and the major changes happening in the year ahead, as well as I'm going to go through all the 12 zodiac signs and share with you your horoscope. All the timestamps will be down below. I'm going to kick off this video talking about love and relationships because they play a huge part in everyone's life. I mean, this world cannot exist without relationships, but particularly love relationships. Now, Venus, the planet of love, relationships, union, unity, peace, creativity, femininity, values, will go retrograde in 2026. And I know some of you probably like dreading it. You're like, no, not Venus coming to F up my relationship. Listen, no planet can ever F up anything you got going on. It's either your relationship is healthy or it's unhealthy or there's some work to do. Venus goes retrograde every year and a half. And this year it's going retrograde in the sign of Scorpio, one of the most intense, passionate zodiac signs. And then it will move its way back into its home sign, Libra. What does this mean? Well, whenever Venus is in retrograde, it's a time to reflect on your relationship. If you're single, this could be reflecting on past relationships. It could be reflecting on, well, what is it that you want to attract in the future? I'm always grateful for whenever Venus is in retrograde, especially when it's in Scorpio, because if there are any secrets that are being kept, if there's any betrayal, if there's anything that is happening behind your back, if there's any infidelity, any cheating going on, it's all gonna come up, right up to the surface, and nothing can be kept hidden. So be grateful for Venus in retrograde because you could be madly in love with somebody. Meanwhile, they got a whole nother thing going on behind your back and you have no idea because you're under this impression or you're under this love spell where you think that the person is being loyal to you when actually, no. And of course, that's not the case for everyone. Some relationships just go through the test of time. And if there are some things that need to be worked through, yes, Venus in retrograde will bring up the negativity. Venus in retrograde will bring up some of the toxic traits that can be worked on or need to be worked on. Now that's of course a choice that two people play a part in because the relationship cannot exist only if one person is putting in the effort. So this is a time where there could be a lot of breakups or a lot of separations and also room and opportunity. Work on some things that have not been going well in your relationship. This is also a time where some people are given an opportunity to get a bit more closer, work on their intimacy, work on how to feel more intimate, feel more together. When Venus is in retrograde in Scorpio, you can do a lot of deep transformation, especially in a relationship. Like if you want to take your relationship to the next level, like you want to get more intimate, you want to get more closer, you want to feel like a union, first of all, you got to address all the shadows, right? You got to address all the negativity, all the issues that are kind of separating you or keeping you apart and not allowing you to come together. But when it comes to doing that deep spiritual intimate work, like Venus in retrograde can really support you. And then when Venus in retrograde goes back into Libra, there'll be more of a focus on peace, on harmony, on values. But first we're going to do that deep transformational work with Venus in Scorpio. Then we get into Venus in Libra, which is more about, okay, let's go into the heart chakra, let's go into the heart center, let's work on peace, let's work on harmony. Mercury will go retrograde 3 times in 2026. And Mercury retrograde happens often because it's a time of pausing, taking some time to reflect, analyze, and come to some deep, profound realization, which is actually very beneficial because in this very fast-paced life, we're always on the go and we never take time to stop and reflect. So this kind of helps you to reset and then restart, which is not always a negative. Mercury retrograde helps you to redirect your energy. So it's a positive, not a negative. Remember, it's all about perspectives. If you think Mercury retrograde or Venus retrograde is here to screw you up, then you know what? You're creating that energy for yourself. When you look at these energies from a positive lens and you're like, hang on a minute, you know what? Maybe I do need some time to pause. Maybe I do need some time to reflect, analyze, come to some deep, profound realizations, and then redirect my energy and have a restart. That can work out in your favor. What's interesting about these Mercury retrogrades we're having in 2026 is they're going to be in the water signs. We're going to have a Mercury retrograde in the sign of Pisces, Cancer, and Scorpio. So water signs are all about emotion. They're about depth. They're about sentiment and intuition. So these retrogrades, this period of reflection and coming to some deep realizations and restarting our energy, redirecting our energy is going to be very emotional. These retrogrades can also support us in regulating our emotions and working on our emotions and learning how to work with our intuition so that it can support us in life as well. Saturn and Neptune will re-enter Aries in 2026. So we've already had a sneak peek of that in 2025, but these energies will start to really settle into Aries in 2026. Now, you may have heard the key theme with Saturn and Neptune in Aries, and that's disillusionment. Typically, this word means being unhappy or dissatisfied when discovering the truth. Perhaps you felt like something was meant to be one way, but actually you find out that it was something completely different, and you're left with having very high expectations, but the reality is completely different, which leaves you feeling very disappointed. I mean, that's the big word with disillusionment, disappointment. However, when you look at it from a bird's eye perspective, isn't it better to discover the truth than to be led into illusion and deceit? Isn't it better to know the truth? And yeah, your initial reaction may be feeling disappointed, feeling dissatisfied, feeling unhappy. When I look at Saturn and Neptune in Aries, I see that there's going to be a lot of truths coming out, and the collective may not be ready for some truths, but that is when the disillusionment plays a part and role in this transit. And there may be a lot of disappointment happening, but in the sign of Aries, this is going to also bring up a lot of rage. Think of Neptune and Saturn as teachers. Neptune as a teacher is someone who's kind of like an enabler, whereas Saturn is very realistic. Saturn's like, okay, this is what you want to do, but I'm going to give you the truth. I'm going to tell you the reality. I'm going to tell you the pros and the cons. I'm going to share with you the roadblocks or the obstacles you may face, and it's up to you what you decide to do. But just know that you have the choice, and when you make the choice, whatever result you get, that's on you. That's the difference between Neptune and Saturn. However, when they come together in the same sign, is another story, because Saturn really overpowers Neptune. Saturn overpowers Neptune in the sense of Saturn's like, no, we're not going to be delusional anymore. We're not going to sugarcoat everything. We're not going to be under this whole love light kind of spell. We're going to look at reality for what it is. And if you can't handle the truth, then that's on you. And that's where a lot of the anger and the rage and the confusion can play a part. But Saturn's like, we're going to look at the reality of everything. No more enabling, no more hiding, no more mist, no more fog. Everything needs to be crystal clear. On a personal level, wherever Saturn and Neptune are transiting in your chart, what area of life they are transiting, this may show where you may realize or discover something that has been either kept hidden from you or you weren't quite aware of, or there is disappointment involved in that area of life, but it's meant to make you stronger. It's meant to redirect your energy into clarity, okay? Don't be afraid of this transit. It's not a negative transit. Sure, you may feel some emotions that you could do better off without, but this energy is meant to happen. It's divinely orchestrated and we can't bypass it. We have to go through it as a collective and personally so that we can learn and grow and evolve from it. I mean, that's why we're here, right? The planet of expansion changes signs into Leo. When Jupiter is in Leo, wow. Talk about how to make a grand entrance. Talk about grand gestures. Talk about a grand party. Talk about grand absolutely everything. Jupiter in Leo is excessive. It is very go big, go home. It's very generous. It's just feeling so great about itself. It's so positive, creative. It's a very positive transit. However, we will have Pluto and Jupiter in a opposition. So that's going to be an interesting transit, which we'll get into when the time is near. But this can support us in our confidence. If you're lacking confidence, if you're lacking self-belief, this could support you to work on your confidence, work on your self-esteem issues, work on how you appear, work on your presence. This transit can also support you in your creative gifts, your creative skills, and just bring a lot of joy and abundance into your life. On the negative, this energy can overdo it because it just has so much confidence and it's feeling so good. It may not really care about boundaries. This energy can also be very ego-driven and very combative as well. It wants to take the limelight, so it can definitely be very competitive, and it can also be just very much self-consumed as well. Those are some of the negative manifestations with Jupiter and Leo, but overall this can bring a lot of abundance, a lot of happiness, and a lot of joy, which is very much needed because we're going through some major shifts and changes in 2026. I mean, almost every outer planet has now entered a new domain, a new cycle, a new shift, a new chapter, so it is needed. Uranus will re-enter Gemini. We've already had a bit of a sneak peek with Uranus in Gemini, but now this energy is going to fully move into the Gemini territory. So what does this mean? Now, Uranus is about innovation, revolution, and Gemini is about communication, movement, travel, the mind, the mental energy. So we can also go through a major shift with communication, whether it be some type of new social media platform coming into fruition, a new way of communicating. I mean, you can even get spiritual with this and get into like telepathy and intuition. That's a little more esoteric. This also emphasizes on travel, new ways of traveling, or we can also be discovering things that are new, that are innovative, technology that we've just never heard of before, technology that can really change humanity and society and the collective. This transit can also reveal a lot of shocking truths or a lot of shocking stories from the news, and everyone is kind of left gobsmacked because it's just out of the blue, out of nowhere, and we weren't expecting it or we weren't prepared for it. There's a lot of shock factor involved with Uranus in Gemini, but Uranus brings innovation. It is very unpredictable, so there's a lot of unpredictability involved here. And in the sign of Gemini, it has to do with the mental, with communication, with learning, with discovering, with researching, as well as technology as well. Chiron is known as a wounded healer, and when it changes zodiac signs, it can support us to work on our shadows, our insecurities, fears, and wounds. And because Chiron is changing into an earth sign, Taurus, which represents Gaia, it represents all our elements. We could run into some issues regarding our material world and security. Taurus is also known as a very headstrong and stubborn energy because it's a fixed sign. So we may come to some realizations that being stubborn or being too headstrong is actually self-destructive. We may run into certain dilemmas or situations in our life that reveal that our stubbornness is actually not serving us. You have to have a certain level of self-awareness to understand where you are being destructive or where you are serving yourself. Sometimes when we get into ego or power battles, we kind of lose track of our actions and how they have consequences and how we may be destructive even if we think we're not being destructive to ourselves or others. So Chiron and Taurus can also support us to look at some of our personality traits, especially when it comes to stubbornness. Pluto is really charging up and gearing up, and it's building a lot of momentum in 2026. And this is emphasized because the nodes will change. The North Node, which is our destiny point, our future, our timeline as a collective, the energy is very much connected with Pluto because the North Node will be in Aquarius, and so is Pluto in Aquarius. Now, the nodes move backwards, so when the North Node moves into Aquarius, it will move into 29 degrees of Aquarius. So even though there's a lot of distance and proximity between Pluto and the nodes, the energy is still gradually going to get more intenser and closer as time goes on. Remember, the nodes stay in a sign for a year and a half. So when this transit, the nodes shifting into the Aquarius and Leo axis, really kicks off in summer, within that next 18 months, we'll see the North Node get closer to Pluto, and it's really going to trigger a lot of shifts and changes connected to our world, our reality, and the collective. Pluto is intense, so it brings up a lot of our shadows. It brings up a lot of the things that are hidden, kept secret. It also gives us the opportunity to create a lot of shifts and changes by doing a lot of soul work, a lot of shadow work, and not bypassing anything that is uncomfortable. Pluto makes you confront your fears. Pluto in Aquarius is about the deep transformation that humanity, society, and the collective is going through. It's going through a deep spiritual transformation, which means a lot of the secrets, a lot of things that are kept hidden, a lot of things that are not serving us, a lot of things that we bypass, that we don't pay attention to, that's all going to come up, and we're going to have to confront it. We're going to have 4 eclipses in 2026. We're going to have an eclipse in the sign of Pisces, Aquarius, Virgo, and Leo. Now, with the Pisces and Virgo eclipses, we're finishing off the karmic cycles of the last year and a half. So a lot of the Pisces and Virgo dominance, you're definitely going to be closing off some intense karmic cycles. And then a new cycle also begins with the Aquarius and Leo axis. When we look at Aquarius, we're looking at humanity, we're looking at individuality, we're looking at independence and society. Aquarius is also connected with the 11th house, so we're looking at belonging in groups, belonging in social circles and friendships as well. And when you look around in the world, there's a lot of crisis amongst where do people belong. I'm already seeing the collective crisis. And this is just going to get intenser as time goes on. And I don't want you to see this as a negative or me fear-mongering, because that's not the case. It's just the astrology. And that's what the astrology is showing. Now with Pluto, like I said, it's bringing up the crisis so that it's confronted, so that something changes or shifts. But how bad does it get before we get into some resolution? Or how bad does it get until we come to some conclusion and we start to really move forward in that divine North Node in Aquarius timeline? With Pluto in Aquarius and the North Node in Aquarius, there may be more intense focus on AI in the digital world, at the internet. There may be more technology on the way that could either be destructive or it could be self-serving. That's something we gotta watch out for, because with Pluto, it can be really intense, and there is a level of destruction involved with Pluto. I mean, just in the last 5 years, we've had a health scare, right? Collectively, we've had a pandemic. Are we gonna have an alien-demic? The alien invasion. What is gonna be the new story that just kicks us off from being grounded and being in stillness and having a smooth reality? What is the next big scare? Is it AI? Is it the aliens? Is it the UFOs? What is it? Time will tell. But the most important thing is to have a sense of self and have self-awareness and understand your emotions, regulate your emotions. Because life is really going to pick up the pace, and we don't know what's around the corner. Like I said, time will tell. But with that being said, let's get through your zodiac sign. I'm going to go through all the 12 zodiac signs and share with you your horoscope and forecast for 2026. So everything that I've just spoken about, I'm going to go through it, but based on your zodiac sign. Now, these horoscopes are based on the ascendant and the rising sign. However, you can cross-watch for your sun or your moon, and just bear in mind, I'm working with a whole sign house system in these forecasts. You can also listen to Re-Astrology episodes on Spotify and Apple Podcasts if you want to listen on the go. I will leave the links down below, the timestamps down below. Make sure you show this horoscope video some love. Comment down below. Let me know what you're looking forward to, what is impacting you this year. Let me know your big three, and I'll see you in your horoscope. Lots of love. Hi Aries, Aries rising. Welcome to your annual horoscope for 2026. 2026 is a major year for you. You're one of the main characters of the year, and that is because you have two planets changing into your sign, and that's Saturn and Neptune, as well as we have some very interesting lunar events that will be very activated due to these two planets. So there's much to get into, and in this video I'm going to go through all the major key dates and major astrological events occurring and how they will impact your zodiac. Now, these horoscopes are intended for the rising, and they are based on the whole sign house system, so just bear that in mind. However, you can still cross-watch. So let's get into it. Let's start off with the transits happening, and then I'll get into the major lunar events such as the eclipses and your annual new moon and full moon. So kicking off, on January the 26th, Neptune will re-enter Aries. So Neptune and Saturn have both given you a sneak peek of what is on the way with this Aries journey. Now, because of retrograde season, Neptune and Saturn have re-entered Pisces. However, in 2026, they're going to re-enter your sign, starting off with Neptune in Aries on January the 26th. Now, I want to talk about Neptune from a separate standpoint, and then I'll talk about Neptune and Saturn coming together. Now, Neptune has a very interesting meaning. It varies in its interpretation because you've got the positive side of Neptune, which is very empathetic, it's very sensitive, it's connected with dreams, intuition, as well as spirituality and creativity. And then the negative, darker manifestation of Neptune is sometimes it's so positive, or it chooses to look at everything from rose-tinted glasses, where it can miss out on certain details or certain signs. Sometimes Neptune can be so positive to the point of it can't actually distinguish the difference between what is real or what is false. It also has tendencies to escape as well. So those are some of the shadow traits of Neptune. So when Neptune enters Aries, it's more fierce. It's more independent and more free. So in terms of your sensitivities as well, you may find that you feel a little more triggered. You might feel that you are quick to react as well because of your sensitivities of being more sensitive and more triggered. This could also impact your creativity in a very positive way, because if you are feeling very strong emotions, or if you're feeling very sensitive or triggered, you can kind of alchemize all that into creativity and channel your creativity. This also can make you feel very overprotective and defensive of your own kind of spiritual journey as well, and it can really charge up your intuition. Because it's in your first house, it's emphasizing more on your identity, more on your sensitivities as well. And then this may be a time where you are very much focused on your spirituality, your spiritual journey, your intuition. You may find that even when it comes to your identity, you're becoming more spiritual, or you're starting to become more intuitive as well. Now, because Aries and in the first house, it has a lot to do with the crown chakra and the head area. So you got to be mindful of your thoughts, and then understanding the difference between what is real, what is factual, and what is not real, what is fictional, because Neptune can really influence that area. So going over things as as many times as you can to make sure you know what is going on and what's the truth and what's false, understanding the difference between facts and fiction. On February the 13th, Saturn also re-enters Aries. Now, Saturn has to do with structures. It has to do with authority. It has to do with time. Saturn is known sometimes for its negative manifestation of slowing things down, or to the point of bringing delays or bringing forward karmic patterns from the past for you to confront. But the positive of Saturn is it supports us to become a wise sage. It supports us to mature and grow up, and it can teach us a lot about discipline and working hard and being devoted and committed and watching the fruits of your labor. Now, when Saturn enters Aries, it can have a difficult time because Aries is very fast. It's very fast-paced, rapid. It's about speed. It's very fiery, whereas Saturn is all about taking your time. It's about slowing down. So in terms of speeds and pace, Saturn in Aries finds it a bit difficult to adjust into that energy because these energies are actually not coming together. However, because Saturn is entering your first house, it can support you in learning more about the art of slowing down and how to slow down when needed, how to think things through, rather than, one of the more shadowy manifestations of Aries is it can be either very impatient or sometimes it can be a little irrational as well. Now, Saturn can support to tame that energy and help you slow down and think things through so that you learn the art of slowing down, learn the art of patience, learn the art of thinking things through so that you don't react so rapidly. Okay, this sometimes can become very frustrating for Aries dominance because it's not an energy you're used to, but that is what Saturn will support and teach you to grow into as well. Now, when Saturn and Neptune come together, that's a whole different story because they're very opposites. Saturn is very realistic, whereas Neptune is all about dreams and imagination. But when they come together, Saturn can bring a lot of truths up to the surface. Saturn can kind of pop that little imaginary bubble Neptune has been living in and help Neptune to see what is the truth, what is factual, which can often be very disappointing for Neptune because Neptune loves to look at everything from rose-tinted glasses. So there could be some disappointment involved. But it's about growing pains. It's about maturing, and maturing requires you to see everything for what it is. So you may be going through a huge transformation regarding your identity and how you think, as well as your life path. A lot of the old energies you've been going through, especially with the 12th house energy, that's now in the past. Now we're moving forward and looking at the future. So there's some lessons to learn and integrate so that we can move forward, and a lot of those lessons have to do knowing your limits, knowing your boundaries, learning discipline, learning patience, learning the art of slowing down. And Saturn is really going to support you to mature. It's going to support you to slow down, especially in your thinking process as well, in the crown chakra, the head area, so that you can look at everything from a different perspective, perhaps a perspective that you're not used to, but it's really supporting you in your growth, okay? April the 25th, Uranus, the planet of innovation and change, enters Gemini. We've already had a bit of a taste of this. Uranus will re-enter Gemini again. Due to retrograde, it's currently back in Taurus. But when it moves into Gemini again, it's going to activate your third house. So the third house has to do with communication. It has to do with learning, reading, writing, as well as like your daily environments, like your daily commutes. So There could be some excitement when it comes to travel as well. There could be excitement when it comes to reading, writing, communicating, and you may find yourself learning about things that are very much connected to either the internet or technology. And this may be a time where you're learning a lot about spirituality as well, but it's bringing a lot of excitement into your thinking. Even though I've said that with Saturn is slowing you down, with the influence of Uranus when it comes to learning and researching, it's bringing a lot of excitement, it's bringing a lot of change, as well as if you're working in any type of area or job that involves reading or writing or researching or even speaking. This could be a really good time, because Uranus is going to help you to be very confident. It's going to help you to be just very free and liberated in your communication, as well as when it comes to learning things, you'll be able to learn things really quickly as well. And when it comes to travel, you may just need a lot of change. You may need to move around a lot. Perhaps you need to feel more stimulated as well. Chiron is moving out of your sign. So it has been quite a ride in the last couple of years with Chiron, which is known as a wounded healer that supports us to learn about our insecurities, our triggers, our wounds, and supports us to learn how to kind of overcome them and grow from them. Chiron is going to move into Taurus on June the 19th, which means it's going to move into your second house. The second house has to do with what you own. It has to do with the material resources you own, finances, but most importantly, behind all those words, the word self-worth exists. Due to how we feel about ourselves, whether it's confidence or self-belief, that has a lot to do with how much abundance we attract into our life. Chiron will show you where some of those woundings are, especially attached to the second house, and it will bring them up. And then this may be another journey, another period of where you're learning about them and you're overcoming them. And it has a lot to do with self-worth, like I said. Self-worth really shows and equates to how much abundance you're able to attract into your life. With Chiron being in Taurus, not only does it have to do with the material, but it could also have to do with how stubborn you are about this area of life. That could be kind of like a negative trait that is revealed during this time, but Chiron again is teaching you about how to overcome stubbornness as well, especially regarding matters of the second house. June the 30th, Jupiter, the planet of expansion, enters Leo. Jupiter will be entering your fifth house. Jupiter absolutely adores and loves being in the fifth house, okay? Jupiter is very exuberant, very abundant, very happy, very joyful, very creative. The fifth house has to do with our inner child. It has to do with our creativity, how we enjoy, have fun in life. It can also have to do with romantic relationships as well. So this could be a time where you're just really creative, expressing yourself. If you work in any type of artistic area, whether that being like singing, acting, fashion, painting, whatever type of medium for art it is that you really enjoy or work in, this could be a very expansive time. This could also be a time where there's a lot of great memories, as well as you may find yourself to attract somebody new in your life, and it feels very like it's meant to be in a way, and you're just having a lot of fun. Something to be mindful with Jupiter is it can have an issue with boundaries. If it's having too much fun, it could sometimes forget its responsibilities. However, Saturn is in your sign, so Saturn will be reminding you of the responsibilities you have in your life. So just keeping a healthy balance is, of course, always important. Moving on, July the 26th, we're going to have the North Node and South Node change signs. So the North Node will enter Aquarius and the South Node will enter Leo. So with the North Node, it's about where we're headed. In the 11th house, for you, it has to do with friendships, groups, society, and where you fit in society. It also has to do with your acquaintances, your social networks and social circles, as well as your hopes and wishes for the future. Now, with Pluto already in your 11th house, this is kind of reinforcing and re-emphasizing all that Pluto's already activating. But because it's a North Node, the eclipses will occur in the 11th house as well as the 5th house. That's where the South Node will be. Now, what's interesting is you've got Jupiter in your 5th house as well as the South Node in your 5th house. So where Jupiter is just really happy and feeling really abundant, the South Node is revealing to you, even though this is an area that you very much have a lot of fun in, there's still certain things that you have to learn from this area of life and learn to move on from this area of life. So it could be as simple as not knowing how to balance work and play, or how to balance responsibilities and your need to enjoy and have a lot of fun or stimulate yourself. Okay, so those are some of the lessons that we still need to learn with Jupiter and the South Node in the 5th house. Now, in terms of the eclipses, so we're going to start off with February the 17th, where we've got the solar eclipse in Aquarius in the 11th house at 28 degrees. This is going to be very important in terms of friendships and in groups and the people you're around, the people you network and hang around with, as well as your hopes and wishes for the future. There could be something new that begins here, a new cycle, a new chapter, or even like if you're working on your hopes and visions for the future, there could be this new opportunity that occurs. Now, in terms of the eclipse connected to the South Node that we'll be having, that will happen on August the 12th, where we're going to have a solar eclipse in Leo. So that could be very much connected with a relationship as well, because the 5th house, and with Jupiter here, the 5th house has to do with romantic partnerships and relationships, and also just having fun and enjoying yourself, self-expression and creativity. This could be a time where if you've been working on something from the past, like a creative endeavor, this could be a time where that also activates and comes into fruition. Now, since I'm speaking about the eclipses, let's talk about the lunar eclipse that we're still going to have in the Virgo axis, and as well as the Virgo and Pisces axis. So we've got March the 3rd, where we've got a lunar eclipse happening at 12 degrees, and that will be happening in your 6th house. So there could be something that comes to an end, or a transformation occurs regarding work life, regarding your everyday life and how your life is structured, all the things that are involved, especially when it comes to how you take care of yourself and your wellness. And then we have the following lunar eclipse that happens on August the 28th in the sign of Pisces at 4 degrees. So there could be an ending or a chapter coming to an end regarding your 12th house, and this could be connected to Saturn and Neptune and all the lessons you've been learning from the past. It could also have to do with your spirituality. It could have to do with tendencies from the past, like escaping tendencies, or it could have to do with even your creativity. But there could be this point where you have like an aha moment, or something really integrates, a lesson integrates, or it could be a soul lesson that comes to an end. Even, I mean, you can get deeper and get into like soul contracts, even when it comes to an epiphany that really finalizes something that you've been going through, or something that you've been going through comes to an end or a conclusion or a transformation. Let's talk about the lunar events you're going through in your sign. So April the 17th, we've got a new moon in Aries at 27 degrees. So this new moon in Aries will be really important for those that have any planets in Aries at 27 degrees or close by. Happening in your 1st house, this is very different because this time around you've got Saturn and Neptune in your sign. So there could be this new beginning, this new chapter, this new cycle that is connected to both Saturn and Neptune, that is connected with responsibility, that's connected with having more structure in your life, and that involves slowing down, that involves more spirituality, that involves being more realistic. This could be a time where something new occurs in your life, where you're very serious about, that you're very committed about, that you're giving your all. Aries is a very freedom-orientated energy. So sometimes because it's such a free spirit, it doesn't always like or enjoys a lot of responsibility because it wants to be free. It doesn't want anything to hold it back. But this could be a different time, a different cycle, a different stage in your life where you want more stability, you want more commitment, you want more structure and responsibilities in your life. This could be connected to a relationship, or it could just be connected to just you, the path you're on, some of the things you want to achieve in your life path, career, home. Now, we're also going to have a full moon in your sign on September the 26th. And this full moon will be at 3 degrees. So take a look at where that falls in your chart. And if you have any planets in the early degrees of Aries, this will be more profound for you. So a full moon in Aries, which means the moon will be in Aries and the sun will be in Libra. Now, this is really emphasizing on you and other people in relationships because the sun will be in the 7th house of relationships and other people. Again, you've got Saturn and Neptune here in the mix. So there may be either something or a cycle that comes to a conclusion, or something really integrates and comes into fruition, or there's an ending of some sort, or just a breakthrough or transformation. Again, this is emphasizing on you, your life path, your personal goals, but also relationships. It seems like you're at odds, just looking at the chart, because you've got Saturn and Neptune opposite the sun, where there's a lot of light, a lot of focus, but then also there's a lot of energy regarding you and your identity and your life in the first house. So there may be some situations regarding other people and relationships, as well as including yourself, that you have to navigate, and there may be some type of decision you have to make, especially regarding where you're headed in life, and this may be very much connected with a relationship. But there's a lot of realizations, strong realizations, a lot of spiritual maturity, a lot of growing up, a lot of integrating really just important lessons, and in becoming the wise sage. Venus retrograde will be in your 8th house, so it will be very much about what you own and share with others, especially when it comes to resources and finances, as well as intimacy. This is also the area of life that rolls over deep spiritual transformation. When Venus retrograde moves back into Libra, the focus will be more on relationships, but it seems like just over the time when Venus enters your opposite sign, Libra, and then moves back into Scorpio, there's a lot of relationship stuff coming up, a lot of what you own and what you share, whether it being something physical, whether it being just a bond you share, intimate moments you share. There's a lot of reflecting, there's a lot of going over. Venus retrograde is known to really focus on relationships and focus on commitment and how strong is the relationship. Are there any changes that need to be made in the relationship? Is this relationship working out? Is it stable? Is it secure? So if you are in a relationship, those are some of the things that you may find out that are actually coming up, and you're having to navigate through them. If you're single, this could involve a past relationship that you are either coming out of or you're still kind of healing from, and it gives you a lot of room to learn and grow and heal from that as well. You can do a lot of learning. There could be a lot of growing and a lot of understanding about what happened and how you can move forward from it as well. Venus has a lot to do with self-worth as well, and that is the most important thing with Venus, because it's very much connected to the 2nd house, where self-worth really determines how much abundance you have in your life, how good of a relationship you attract in your life. So it's a very important theme. Now, we also have Mercury retrograde happening, of course, like we do every year. This time around, it's going to happen in the water sign. So Mercury retrograde is a time where we're more reflective and we're spending a lot of time going over certain areas of our life that are being triggered and impacted, and it will be the water areas of your life. So we're looking at the 12th house, we're looking at the 4th house, as well as the 8th house. So there's going to be a lot of reflection, a lot of revisiting these areas of life, and it may be a bit of an emotional time because these are water retrogrades, but nonetheless they're going to support you to become very intuitive and navigate through anything that needs to be worked on, especially regarding home, family, security, stability, shared resources, shared finances, intimacy, as well as the 12th house, which has a lot to do with past karma, spirituality, as well as your creative gifts and abilities. So, Aries rising, that is 2026 in a nutshell. A big year for you. You will find yourself really changing and shifting. Like, people may even notice that your personality is kind of changing and you're becoming a bit more just mature, spiritually mature, which is a really positive thing. So I'm wishing you all the best for 2026. Let me know your big three in the comment section down below. Let me know what you're looking forward to. Let me know if you really enjoyed this reading. I would love to hear from you. Leave a comment down below. You can also listen to these episodes on Spotify. Subscribe, like, and I will speak with you soon in your January 2026 horoscope. Much love. Taurus rising, welcome to your 2026 horoscope and yearly forecast. Let's get into the exciting changes of 2026. We've got some major changes happening that are impacting some important areas of your life. So I'm going to start off with getting into those changes, and I'm going to talk about the eclipses and your yearly new moon and full moon, as well as your ruler Venus goes retrograde this year. So there's a lot to unpack. Let's get started. January the 26th, Neptune, the planet of dreams and illusions, enters Aries. So it will be entering your 12th house of creativity, sensitivity, spirituality. This is also the area of life where you can find a lot of past karma. And this area of life is also associated with escaping tendencies. Now, when Neptune is in the 12th house, it can be very emotional and very sensitive, also very intuitive and creative, and it can sometimes feel like it just wants to escape. So on that hand, it has to be very much monitored. But what is really good is Saturn, the planet of discipline and structure, will also join Neptune in Aries in your 12th house on February the 13th. Now, we've had a bit of a sneak peek of this energy in 2025, but it really settles in 2026. So it's Saturn here. Saturn is teaching Neptune more boundaries. Saturn is teaching you how to cope with reality rather than escape when things get a bit difficult. And you may be like, well, I don't have those tendencies. The thing is, when planets change signs, they influence us in different ways. That's where a solar return chart comes into place, or a yearly transit chart comes into place. So Saturn is going to support and help Neptune to be more realistic, to be more sober, to be more disciplined, to be more structured, and to work with your creativity in a more structured and disciplined manner. That can be very beneficial, especially if you work in any type of artistic and creative field. And also, this energy supports Neptune to have a way of coping as well, coping and healing and transforming certain emotions through art, through creating like an artistic masterpiece. Now, when Saturn is in the 12th house, it can also run into past situations that need to be dealt with, that can be connected to karma. You know, that is just based on whatever you believe in, if you believe in karma or not. But this could be a karmic time, so to say, that past situations that need to still be addressed or worked on, need to be resolved, can come up. So in terms of working on your spirituality, working on karmic situations, or working on creativity, also when it comes to expanding your consciousness, having enlightening experiences, this could be very profound for that. Moving on, Uranus enters Gemini on April the 25th. Now, Uranus has been in your sign for quite some time, for quite many years, and you've got a sneak peek of Uranus in Gemini. Currently, as I'm speaking, Uranus is back in your sign at 29 degrees, but it's re-entering Gemini on April the 25th, which means it's going to enter your second house, where it can really change and shift the second house. The second house has to do with what you own, your resources, finances, and self-worth is a big one. So with Uranus here, it seems like because Uranus is connected with innovation and change and freedom and liberation, you may want more financial freedom, you may want to feel more independence in this area of life, or you probably want to feel just more independent within yourself, and it's connected to self-worth rather than the material. So this area of life is going through a shift and a change. Sometimes Uranus can be unpredictable, so it's really important to know your boundaries and limitations with this area of life, because things can get really shaken up. But the ultimate, more higher manifestation of this transit is liberation and more freedom in this area of life. June the 19th, Chiron enters your sign. So Chiron is known as a wounded healer. It supports us to gain more awareness on our insecurities, triggers, and wounds, and it can support us to navigate through them and evolve from them. So when it's in your first house, this has to do with you, your sense of self. It has to do with your personality, your identity, and also your life. This transit is a really important one because it's impacting your first house. It's in your sign. So there may be a really strong emphasis on a lot of self and spiritual development and a lot of healing. This isn't going to impact everyone at the same time. It really depends on your personal chart, and it depends on your Taurus placements. But if you have early Taurus, this is going to be the year where you'll feel the effects of this more strongly. June the 30th, Jupiter, the planet of expansion, enters Leo. Jupiter will be entering your fourth house of home, family, sense of belonging, and security. So there could be a lot of expansion happening, a lot of positive, abundant changes happening in this area of life. There could be some moving around, there could be some great family memories and experiences, but it's really shining its light in this area of life. Now, Jupiter is an amplifier, and sometimes if there's other energies in this area of life, or it's transiting and aspecting any other personal planets in your chart, it can really exaggerate and amplify that energy. What's interesting is on July the 26th, we've got the nodes changing signs. So the North Node will enter Aquarius in your 10th house of career goals and ambitions. And the South Node will be joining Jupiter in Leo in your 4th house of home and family. So with this nodal change, it's showing where there's a push to move forward in and where to grow from. Now, there's also going to be the eclipses happening in each of these houses. So February the 17th, we've got a solar eclipse in Aquarius at 28 degrees, which is happening in your 10th house. So there may be this new activation, this kind of change shift happening in your career or some of the goals and ambitions you have. And then we've got a solar eclipse in Leo at 20 degrees on August the 12th, which is impacting home and family. So there also may be a shift and change happening and an activation happening. Now, with eclipses, they do transform your life. Because this is a South Node eclipse that's happening on August the 12th, with Jupiter also here, even though the South Node can sometimes be heavy, Jupiter's influence is making it a little more lighter and more easier to grow and evolve from past situations regarding home, family, sense of belonging and security, and it's supporting you to move forward as well, okay? Now, we also still have the eclipses in Virgo and Pisces that will continue in the year of 2026, but they are the final eclipses. So you've got March the 3rd, the lunar eclipse happens in Virgo at 12 degrees, and that eclipse will happen in your 5th house of creativity, joy, pleasure, as well as romance and dating. And then you have a lunar eclipse in Pisces at 4 degrees on August the 28th, which is going to be impacting your 11th house of friendships, groups, networks, and hopes and wishes for the future. So that 11th and 5th house axis is coming to a completion, coming to an end. So if you think about what you've been going through in 2025 with the eclipses, that energy is now going to come to its finale, and there may be some last final transformations occurring. Now, May the 16th, there's a new moon in Taurus at 25 degrees happening. So you're going to have the new moon, the sun and the moon in your sign. So especially if you have planets in Taurus at 25 degrees, this will be more profound for you. This is about a new beginning, a new cycle, a rebirth. This is about the next 12 months. So set your intentions, because this could be very powerful when it comes to manifestation, okay? And there could be this new opportunity, new possibility, new cycle, new opportunity opening for you. October the 26th, you got a full moon in Taurus at 2 degrees. So the sun will be in Scorpio and the moon will be in Taurus. This is impacting you, your life, your identity, as well as relationships and other people. So there could be this major breakthrough or transformation that happens with either you and your life or somebody else that plays a crucial role in your life, such as a relationship or a partner. Now let's get into Venus retrograde. So Venus retrograde happens on October the 3rd. It starts off in your opposite sign, Scorpio, which means you're going through it in relationships. Now, Venus retrograde is about relationships, marriages, commitment. It can also have to do with creativity, finances, and values. Whenever Venus goes retrograde, it's a time to reflect on your relationship and see what's working out and what's not. Because it's in Scorpio, this is about secrets coming out. This is about the hidden. This is about deep spiritual transformation in relationships. And for you, it's very personal because it is in the house of relationships, which means that the impact of it is much more stronger for you. So there could be some breakups, or there could be some mending relationships. There could be some past situations that need to be resolved as well. If you're single, this could be just working on yourself, working on your own values, working on your heart chakra, doing a lot of self-healing as well as working on your creativity perhaps. Now, Venus does move into Libra. So it will go back into Libra and work on your 6th house. So this is about your daily life, routine, habits, as well as self-care, mind, body, soul, spirit, and work. So there may be situations that you need to revisit regarding the 6th house and do a lot of work in that area of life and then redirect your energy. We also have Mercury Retrograde happening a couple of times this year in 2026, which it does every year. But this time around, it's happening in the water signs, Scorpio, Pisces, and Cancer, which means this year's Mercury Retrograde is going to be more emotional, more sensitive, more sentimental, and it's going to support us to tap into our intuition so that we can redirect our energy. So Taurus, it's quite a year. You've got Uranus moving out of your sign. You got Chiron entering your sign. You got a Venus retrograde happening in your opposite sign. And also, you've got Jupiter entering your 4th house of home and family, which is the foundation of your chart. And you've got the eclipses happening in not only your 4th house of home and family, but also career goals and ambitions. And the 10th house is really strong for you because Pluto's in there. So talk about action-packed year. Talk about major changes and shifts and transformation happening. You're going to go through a lot of changes in 2026. So let me know in the comment section down below, what's your big 3? What transit are you anticipating? How do you feel about Chiron, the eclipses, Jupiter and Venus retrogrades? Leave a comment down below. If you enjoyed this horoscope, like this video, share it, subscribe, click on the notification bell. You can also listen on the go on Apple Podcasts and Spotify. I'll speak with you soon in your January 2026 horoscope. May this year work out in your favor, and I'm wishing you all the best. Take care and lots of love. Hi Gem Rising, let's get into your 2026 yearly horoscope and forecast. There are so many changes happening in 2026, and what I'm going to do in this video is I'm going to start off with those major changes, then I'm going to get into the eclipses, your annual full moon and new moon, and I will be talking about Venus retrograde. So let's start off with January the 26th. The planet of dreams and illusions enters Aries and enters your 11th house of friendships, groups, your social networks, and hopes and wishes for the future. So Neptune is a planet of dreams and illusions. It's associated with sensitivities, emotions, intuition, spirituality, creativity, but also, on the other hand, it can make things a little confusing, or there could be a lack of clarity or some haziness, mist, and fog. Now, what's interesting is Saturn will join Neptune in Aries on February the 13th in the 11th house. And Saturn is a complete opposite. Saturn is about structure, discipline, reality, being very disciplined, and it's about time. So when Saturn enters the 11th house, the energy of this area of life changes. There may be some friendships or the social circles that you were part of and hanged around with, they may change dramatically. You may kind of feel different when this energy occurs in your life, and you may feel like you've kind of grown and matured, or you may find the truth of certain people. And with Saturn especially, it reveals the reality. It doesn't sugarcoat anything like Neptune. It doesn't look at everything from rose-tinted glasses. It's very sober and realistic. So friendships may dramatically change. And also when it comes to your hopes and visions for the future, you may be more spiritual about them, but also you may be more structured on how to approach them, how to accomplish some of those goals you have for your hopes and wishes for the future. And that's Saturn's influence. Saturn can make you very realistic and provide you with that discipline so you can really mature in this area of your life. And you may find that you attract friendships that are different than what your usual friend circle was like. You may attract people that are very Neptunian or very Saturnian as well. April the 25th, Uranus, a planet of innovation and change, enters your sign. So we already had a sneak peek of this in 2025, but this energy is now going to re-enter in 2026. So it's really shaking up your life. This is an upgrade. This is an evolution. Uranus is an energy that needs stimulation, it needs movement, it needs change, it needs adventure, and it can be very unpredictable. And because it's in your first house, in your sign, this is impacting your identity, life path, life purpose. It's changing the very foundation of your life. And you'll find that as time goes on with this very long transit, is that there'll be different stages to your evolution. You may go through dramatic changes in terms of your personality, how you dress up, how you move, your just demeanor, what you want from life, everything. And it can also impact relationships because it's opposite your 7th house. And people may notice the change in you. But this is an upgrade. This is a time where this energy is asking you to upgrade and move forward and evolve. And you may feel that as soon as we enter 2026, you'll feel that change. And it's a change you've already kind of dipped your toes in 2025. It will impact everyone at different times because this is a very long transit. So it really depends on your chart. But if you have early gem in your chart, this transit will focus more on you. Let's move on to June the 19th. We have Chiron, the wounded healer, that enters Taurus. So Chiron is known as a wounded healer, and when it changes signs and houses, it can reveal to us some of our insecurities, wounds, and triggers. And for you, it's entering the 12th house, and the 12th house has a lot to do with the past. It's a very emotional, sensitive area of life, so you may have to confront a lot of your hidden emotions or hidden sensitivities or challenges or issues you faced in the past, and they may come up during this time. And with Chiron's energy, you can do a lot of work, a lot of navigating through some of these issues and evolving and growing from them. Okay, so this can be a very spiritually healing time, and Chiron in Taurus is a long transit as well. But when it comes to your spirituality, when it comes to your emotions, your sensitivities, matters of the past, you can do a lot of deep healing. June the 30th, Jupiter, the planet of expansion, enters Leo. Jupiter is a very positive energy, and it's entering your 3rd house. Now, the 3rd house is a key area of life for you because the 3rd house has to do with the mind. It has to do with learning, reading, writing, researching, communicating, speaking, as well as your daily environments and daily travels and commutes. So with Jupiter here, it can make you feel very great and confident, and it can give you just a lot of exciting experiences where you're feeling very spiritual, you're researching spiritual topics, you're gaining a lot of wisdom. It's just when it comes to your mind, you're going through a lot of expansion. It's supporting you to awaken to different perspectives and also spiritually as well. Jupiter can be a very spiritual influence in your life as well. And during this time, you're just in your element, you're socializing, you're having a great time socializing, being out there, your day-to-day life life is really exciting and just you're having good experiences and good moments in life. So that's a really great positive. Now, if you have other planets in the third house, Jupiter can really amplify that energy because it can also exaggerate energy as well. But overall, it's a very positive energy in your life, especially if you work in any type of field that requires you to use your mind a lot, like researching, writing, reading, expressing yourself through words, communication. This could be really great for you. Now, let's get into the nodes. So July the 26th, the North Node, which is our destiny point where we're headed and growing and evolving into, is entering Aquarius, and this is going to impact your ninth house. So the ninth house has to do with a higher mind. It has to do with philosophies, faith, also spirituality, and travel, foreign places. So that's where the focus is for you, and that's where you will be expanding. You're also going to have a solar eclipse in Aquarius at 28 degrees on February the 17th. So this may be a beginning, a kickstart to this area of life, this journey of the North Node being in Aquarius. So there may be new possibilities, a new cycle starting here. We're also going to have the South Node, which is the energy we're moving away from, evolving from. That's going to be in Leo, in your third house, just the way Jupiter is in your third house. These energies coming together. It's very interesting because South Node energy can be very heavy sometimes, but with Jupiter it's really bringing a lot of light, so it's supporting you to evolve and grow, especially when it comes to your mind and your way of thinking and your way of communicating. Those old patterns and old habits and experiences, you're moving away from that. You're going to have a solar eclipse in Leo at 20 degrees on August the 12th in your third house, so this may be a new experience, a new change, a new enlightening experience you go through during this eclipse, and it's kickstarting the Leo solar eclipse journey as well. Now, we also have the Virgo and Pisces eclipses that we are finishing off this year. So March the 3rd, we've got a lunar eclipse in Virgo at 12 degrees. So that's going to be impacting your fourth house of home, family, sense of belonging and security. So whatever you've been going through in the last year connected to home and family, that cycle is now coming to a close, coming to completion. And then we got a lunar eclipse in Pisces at 4 degrees on August the 28th, which is connected to career goals and ambitions. So again, everything you've been going through associated with the 10th house in the last year, that is also coming to an end, and that cycle is coming to completion. So there could be a great transformation occurring in your 10th and 4th house axis. Let's get into your lunar events happening in 2026. So June the 14th, we have a new moon in Gemini at 24 degrees. This will be happening in your first house of identity, self, life goals, life path, life purpose. So there could be this new beautiful cycle that occurs during this time, especially if you have planets in Gemini at 24 degrees or close by. This is going to be even more profound for you. And this is your annual new moon, so it's shining light onto you. And this could be a new rebirth. So you're going to be very intentional during this time because you are able to attract a lot into your life. So it's a very special time for you. And then on November the 24th, you got a full moon in Gemini at 2 degrees. So take a look at your chart if you have any planets in Gemini at 2 degrees or close by early Gem. This will be more profound for you as well. So the sun will be in your opposite sign Sagittarius in your 7th house of relationships. And then the moon will be in Gemini in your first house. So there could be a transformation between you and other people when it comes to, again, your sense of self, identity, as well as relationships and other people. There could be something that changes. Let's talk about Venus retrograde. So Venus is going retrograde in 2026 on October the 3rd. It's kicking off its cycle in Scorpio, which will be impacting your 6th house of your daily life routine and your mind, body, soul, spirit, as well as work. Because Venus retrograde does emphasize on love and relationships, a lot of people will have to navigate through their relationships, especially if there are some challenges. There could be some breakups, there could be some mending, there could be some working on just your sense of self and your own values and your heart chakra for the 6th house. It could be about taking care of your mind, body, soul, and spirit, as well as your work, and especially expanding that heart chakra as well. Now, this Venus retrograde will also re-enter Libra, which means it will re-enter your 5th house, which has to do with expression, joy, pleasure, leisure, creativity, and also romantic relationships. So this may help you to redirect your energy and work on your creativity, work on how confident you are, how you express yourself, and also work on your feminine energy as well. And even relationships can be a huge one because the 5th house rules over romantic relationships. Mercury retrograde is happening in the water signs this year. So it's going to happen in Pisces as well as Cancer and Scorpio. So it's going to be more emotional, more sentimental, and it's going to support us to tap into our intuition. Now, Mercury retrograde is always important for you because you are ruled by Mercury, but this time it's having more of a watery, sentimental, sensitive influence to it. So that's going to be a very interesting time, which I will get into as we get closer to those retrogrades. So Gem rising, big year ahead with Uranus in your sign. And I'm wishing you all the best. May all these changes support you to become the best version of yourself. Let me know what you're looking forward to the most in the comment section down below. If you enjoyed this video, give it a thumbs up, subscribe, click on the notification bell. If you like to listen on the go, these episodes are available on Apple Podcasts and Spotify. And I'll speak with you soon in your January 2026 horoscope. Take care and lots of love. Hi Cancer rising. Welcome to your 2026 horoscope and yearly forecast. In this video, I'm going to go through all the major changes happening in the year of 2026 and how they may impact your zodiac sign. So I'm going to kick off with the major transits, then I'll get into the eclipses and your lunar events and Venus retrograde, which is happening this year. So let's start off with Neptune. Neptune, the planet of dreams and illusions, enters Aries on January the 26th. And Saturn, the planet of discipline, authority, as well as time, also enters Aries on February the 13th. So we've already had a sneak peek of this energy in your 10th house of career goals and ambitions, and this energy will start to really settle in the year of 2026. So with Saturn and Neptune in the 10th house, this is very different to either of them being in your 10th house individually, because what happens is with Neptune's energy in the 10th house, there's more of a focus on creativity, working more with your artistic, creative nature, working with through being inspired from memories or current situations, and there's more spirituality involved here as well. Sometimes things can be unclear and lack clarity, but then here comes Saturn. Saturn kind of overpowers Neptune here and kind of strips away any type of mist or fog, or if you've been kind of idolizing any part of this area of life, or you have perhaps looking at this life from rose-tinted glasses, Saturn strips that away. And Saturn makes you approach this area of life with more discipline, with more structure, with more commitment, and it makes you be more realistic about this area of life. So if you, like I said, if you've been looking at this area of life through rose-tinted glasses, Saturn is really going to help you to get really sober, realistic, and mature in this area of life. So you may apply your creativity and your artistic nature, but with more discipline, with more structure, which can actually be very beneficial because it can actually help and support you to work with these two energies in a very aligned manner. Now, sometimes the Saturn influence, where it strips away any mist or fog or the rose-tinted glasses, it can leave some people with disappointment. Like, you can feel disappointed because, hey, you are idolizing this area of life, or you were looking at this area of life from one point of view, but then Saturn actually shows you the reality of things. And even though it can perhaps leave slight disappointment, know that it's really important to know the actuality, the reality, the truth of what is going on, because the Neptune influence can have you in a little bubble. So if you are really wanting to achieve certain goals in your career and the things that you're ambitious about, Saturn can actually help you to work hard towards them rather than just idolizing the idea of a certain career or what it would be like to have something in your life regarding the 10th house. Saturn can actually help you to put the work in, because Neptune has a lot to do with our imagination. So from one hand, it can provide you with a lot of creativity, and it can support you to bring what's in your mind, what's in your imagination, and bringing it into fruition in the real world. But on the other hand, the shadow side, Neptune can actually make you just be a little complacent as well. So that Saturn influence is very much needed. April the 25th, Uranus enters Gemini. Uranus is a planet of innovation and change, and it's entering your 12th house, which is a very secluded area of life. The 12th house is a very complex area of life because it rules over the past. You can even get into karma, spirituality, what you believe in, the universe, the divine. It's about
sensitivities. It's a more emotional area of life. It's where you can actually have tendencies to escape. And because the 12th house is a very spiritual house, whenever you have an planet in this area of life, it's really focusing on that side of your life and that journey to enlightenment. And with Uranus, because Uranus is very much the awakener, a lot of people can go through very profound moments of realizations, have strong epiphanies, have some sort of spiritual awakening. And the thing with a spiritual awakening is it's a lifelong journey. It's not just this one aha moment you have. There's different stages to that journey. I mean, I'm having a spiritual awakening almost like every day. I'm awakening to something, right? And Uranus can really fast forward that journey rather than it going at a certain pace. It can help speed things up. It's a very speedy energy. So when it comes to enlightenment, awakening, Uranus can really play a very crucial part and role in that. It can also help you to channel different forms of your creativity, tap into different forms of your artistic nature, and also it can help you to move forward in any type of karmic cycle if that's a belief system you believe in. So it's a very spiritual transit for you. Moving on, June the 19th, Chiron, the wounded healer, enters Taurus. Whenever Chiron changes signs or houses, it can reveal to us some of our insecurities, our triggers, our past wounds, and it can give us support in moving forward and navigating and evolving from those issues. And with Chiron in Taurus, it's going to be affecting your 11th house of friends, groups, social circles, as well as your hopes and wishes for the future. So any type of insecurities, triggers, or past situations you've experienced with friends or acquaintances or people, and there's any type of past hurt, Chiron can support you to work through that and also support you in your hopes and wishes for the future. Moving on, June the 30th, Jupiter, the planet of expansion, enters Leo. Jupiter will be moving out of your sign, and in your sign it may have brought forward a lot of possibilities and opportunities because it's a new cycle in your life. And now this energy, this cycle, is moving to the second stage of the second house, which rules over you and what you own, resources, finances, and your self-worth. So Jupiter can make you feel really good here. It could be great for money manifestation. It can give you a lot of confidence. It can give you a lot of self-belief. It can make you feel great. It can make you feel very abundant. And hence, if you feel abundant, if you feel really good, that energy is something that you can attract very easily. That is the law of attraction. It's about what you're really feeling within. However, something to be mindful of with Jupiter is because it feels so good, sometimes it lacks its boundaries and doesn't know its limitations. So you have to actively be very conscious about that and apply those boundaries and limits, because sometimes it can go overboard. And sometimes with Jupiter, especially in Leo, it can give you this sense of pride as well. So that's something to also be mindful of, that, you know, your ego, your pride, it's all very much balanced. But it's a great time for when it comes to matters of the second house and resources and your sense of self and worth. Let's move on to the nodes. July the 26th, the North Node enters Aquarius and the South Node enters Leo. So what does this mean? So the North Node is about the destiny point, where we're headed, the future. And the South Node is the past, what we're leaving behind, what we're growing and evolving away from. So the North Node will be in your 8th house, and that has to do with shared finances, resources, intimacy, and deep spiritual transformation. So that's where your higher self is supporting you to grow and evolve in. There's going to be a solar eclipse in Aquarius at 28 degrees on February the 17th, and this eclipse is going to happen in your 8th house. So this may be an activation, a new cycle, a new chapter that begins in this area of life. And then you've got the South Node in the 2nd house, where Jupiter is also at. So the 2nd house with the South Node here, this is about what we're evolving and growing away from. So any past situations with the 2nd house that has, especially with Jupiter here, because Jupiter is pushing you to become more confident and believe in yourself and feel more abundant. So any type of insecurities or any past situations that have held you back, it's about growing and evolving away from that. And we're going to also have a solar eclipse in Leo at 20 degrees on August the 12th, which means this can also start something new in this area of life, kickstart this energy, activate this energy as well. And with Jupiter, it's about being more positive, being more abundant, and knowing that abundance is your birthright. Now, since we're talking about the eclipses, we're finishing off the Pisces Virgo eclipses. So March the 3rd, we got a lunar eclipse in Virgo at 12 degrees. And this lunar eclipse in Virgo is going to happen in your third house. So whatever you've been going through in the last year associated with the third house of the mind, of communication, and your daily environments, that cycle is now going to come to an end and a completion. And then on August the 28th, we got a lunar eclipse in Pisces at 4 degrees, which will be impacting your ninth house of your higher mind, philosophies, and travel. So that cycle is also going to come to an end and a completion, and it's very much connected with the last 18 months. Now let's move on to the full moon in Cancer, which is going to happen on January the 3rd. So as soon as we kick off January, we've got a full moon in Cancer at 13 degrees. So take a look at your chart. If you have any planets in Cancer at 13 degrees or close by, this is going to be more profound for you. So the sun will be in Capricorn in your 7th house, and the moon will be in your 1st house in Cancer. This is impacting your 1st and 7th house axis, which means it's about you, your identity, life path, goals, ambitions, as well as 7th house of relationships and other people. So there may be a major transformation that occurs in that area of life. And then you have your annual new moon in Cancer at 21 degrees on July the 14th, which is impacting you and your 1st house. So this is solely about you. All about you, your life path, purpose, identity. And especially if you have planets in Cancer at 21 degrees or close by, this is going to be really potent and very powerful for you, and it's a time to be very intentional because you can manifest a lot, especially during your annual new moon. And we have Venus retrograde happening as well on October the 3rd in the sign of Scorpio. It's going to start off in your 5th house of self-expression, creativity, as well as joy, romantic relationships, and pleasure. So because it's a Venus retrograde, that means that some relationships may undergo a review, reflecting over your relationship, navigating through some relationship hiccups. There could be breakups involved. It really just depends on your own personal circumstances. But this could also be a time where you're working on your own self, your heart chakra, your values, your creativity, especially because it's in the 5th house. This is a lot about self-expression. It's a lot about how good you feel about yourself and your creativity, especially if you work in the arts or you have some type of creative hobby. This could really support to redirect your energy. Then Venus will move back into Libra in its retrograde motion, which will impact home, family, and your personal life, sense of belonging and security. So there could be some issues coming up there that you have to navigate through, but at the end of it, Venus retrograde is about expanding the heart chakra. So whether that means breaking up, whether that means letting go of something, whether it means working on something, it's about expanding the heart, okay? And then we also have Mercury retrograde happening 3 times this year, and it's going to happen in the water signs. It's going to happen in Pisces, Scorpio, as well as your sign. So there's going to be a lot of deep reflection happening in your life. There's going to be a lot of slowing down, going over your life, reassessing your life choices, decisions, the path, the purpose you're on, and then redirecting your energy. Cancer rising, I'm wishing you all the best for 2026. May everything work out in your favor and you have an incredible year ahead. Let me know your big 3. Let me know what you're looking forward to the most. Like this video, subscribe and click on the notification bell. And also you can listen to these episodes on the go on Apple Podcasts and Spotify. And I will speak with you in your January 2026 horoscope. Take care and lots of love. Leo rising, welcome to your 2026 astrology horoscope and yearly forecast. 2026 is a major year for you because the nodes are shifting, and the south node will enter your sign Leo and the north node will enter your opposite sign Aquarius. And on top of that, you have Jupiter, the planet of expansion, entering your sign. So not only are the eclipses going to be in your sign, and also Jupiter. So this is a major year for you. So we've got a lot to get into. I'm going to go through all the major changes and shifts of 2026. Then I'll get into the eclipses as well as Venus retrograde. So let's start off with January the 26th. Neptune, the planet of dreams and illusions, enters Aries. And so does Saturn enter Aries on February the 13th. We've already had a sneak peek of this energy in 2025, but in 2026, this energy will be more stronger. For you, it's impacting the ninth house of philosophies of mind, wisdom, higher learning, as well as travel. Now, when Neptune and Saturn come together, this is about really being realistic. It's about being very sober in your approach, especially when it comes to the things you have learned over the years or over the course of your life, your philosophical beliefs, as well as when it comes to traveling as well. There's a lot that will be put into perspective, and Neptune is more sentimental and it can be very inspired in the moment. But when Saturn comes along, Saturn kind of changes the tone. Saturn is like, let's get sober and realistic. Let's become very disciplined. Many of your past beliefs and perspectives and philosophies on life and just everything in general may start to change. You may find that a lot of the false layers start to strip away, and then Saturn comes with a very sober approach, and you may become more serious about the things you believe in. And when it comes to travel, there also may be kind of like a disciplined approach towards travel as well. Moving on, April the 25th, Uranus, a planet of change and innovation, enters Gemini again in your 11th house. The 11th house has to do with friends, groups, networks, social circles, as well as your hopes and wishes for the future. With Uranus in the 11th house, you can expect to either experience a lot of change in your friendships. There could be some unpredictability, or perhaps you meet people who are very Uranian, who are very innovative and different. Perhaps they are very much into like technology, society, politics even. You might even find that your hopes and visions start to change, and you may feel like you need to take a different approach towards them that is more freeing and liberating. So that's going to be an exciting transit for you. June the 19th, Chiron, the wounded healer, enters Taurus. So Chiron, when it changes signs and changes houses, it gives us the opportunity to learn more about some of our insecurities, triggers, or wounds. Chiron gives us an opportunity to become more aware and navigate through some of these issues. Chiron will be moving into your 10th house. Now, the 10th house has to do with career goals and ambitions. So, any issues or challenges or triggers around this area of life, and it doesn't even have to just be career goals and ambitions, it can also be people that have authority over you as well. Or even when it comes to any issues around stubbornness and how that has become destructive in your life, Chiron will help you to navigate through that. So it can be a very healing energy in your life. June the 30th, this is where it gets really exciting because the planet of expansion, Jupiter, will enter your sign. This is really exciting because Jupiter loves being in Leo. It loves being in your sign because it's just so happy and joyful and so full of confidence, and just everything is just so beautiful for Jupiter in the sign of Leo. And when it's in your sign in your first house, this is shining light and focusing on you, your identity, life path, and purpose. So it can give you just so much joy in your life. And because it's entering your sign, this is like a beautiful new cycle and a new chapter. And so many opportunities and possibilities can enter your life. And you may ask, well, what are those opportunities and possibilities connected to? Well, that will mean something different depending on your chart. But overall, being in your sign, it's just shining light on your entire life and what it is that you want from this life. So it can be a very positive time. Now, for some folks, this could be slightly different because Jupiter is also an amplifier, meaning it has this larger than life energy. So if you already have energies in Leo, or if you have other planets that this transit is aspecting, it can amplify that energy. So this is something to really look forward to because there could be a lot of positivity that comes your way during this time. Now, what's really interesting is the following month on July the 26th, the nodes change signs. So you'll have the North Node entering your opposite sign Aquarius in your 7th house of relationships. And then you'll have the South Node in your 1st house in your sign Leo with Jupiter, which means this is where the eclipses will occur in your 1st and 7th house. So with the North Node in the 7th house, think of this as the timeline your higher self wants you to focus and grow and evolve in, and that is relationships and other people. And you already have Pluto in this area of life, so there's a lot of focus here on transforming relationships. You also have the South Node in your 1st house. Now the South Node is associated with what we're growing and evolving from. So in your 1st house, because the 1st house has to do with you, your identity, purpose, life path, this is about old parts of you shedding, old parts of your identity shedding and also transforming. And with Jupiter, it's also bringing a lot of new opportunity, new growth, and new evolution into your life. So let's talk about the eclipses. So on February the 17th, you're going to have a solar eclipse in your opposite sign Aquarius at 28 degrees. So there may be something new that shifts in your relationship or in any type of partnership you have. There may be this new opportunity or new cycle that activates during this time, because this is one of the first eclipses in Aquarius, and it's a solar eclipse. So the focus is on birth, it's on a new cycle, a new start. And then you're going to have another solar eclipse in the sign of Leo at 20 degrees on August the 12th. So take a look at your chart. If you have 20 degrees of Leo or planets in Leo close by to 20 degrees, because it's going to be more profound for you. So the solar eclipse in your sign, meaning in your 1st house, this is shedding light on your identity, on your life path and purpose and what you want to achieve from this life. And because it's a solar eclipse but also a South Node eclipse, it's about shedding the past, but from shedding the past there's something new that comes into fruition. There's something new that is created, and this can kickstart and activate this eclipse cycle for you. So mark your calendars, because there's some important dates coming your way on in 2026. Now you're also going to have a full moon in Leo on February the 1st at 13 degrees. So this full moon in Leo means the sun will be in Aquarius and the moon will be in Leo, again activating your 1st and 7th house axis. So depending on your chart and your degrees, this could be a time where something transforms in a relationship, a partnership, or something in your life changes dramatically, because this is a full moon, so we're looking at a transformation. We also are finishing off the eclipses in the Pisces and Virgo axis. So on March the 3rd, we have a lunar eclipse in Virgo at 12 degrees. So that will be impacting your 2nd house of what you own, resources, self-worth. And therefore that energy is now coming to a close. It's coming to an end. So a lot of what you've been going through in 2025 is coming to an end, and there may be either a completion of a cycle or an entire transformation occurring. And then you also have a lunar eclipse in Pisces at 4 degrees on August the 28th, happening in your 8th house of shared finances, resources, intimacy, and deep transformation. And again, a completion of a cycle. So we're closing off the Virgo and Pisces axis, the eclipses we've been having in 2025, and we're activating this new energy in the Aquarius and Leo axis. Now we also have Venus going retrograde this year. Venus retrograde starts off on October the 3rd, kicking off in the sign of Scorpio, which means it will be impacting your 4th house of home, family, sense of belonging, and security. So Venus retrograde typically is about relationships. It's about love and partnerships and harmony, and also self-worth and values. And the 4th house, this is connected with your home and family dynamics, so there may be a lot of revisiting, slowing down, reflecting, going over certain things, and then redirecting your energy. Now, because this Venus retrograde is in the sign of Scorpio, it can bring forth a lot of secrets or things that are hidden. You can do a lot of deep soul spiritual transformation. Venus retrograde will also re-enter Libra, which means it will move into your 3rd house. So when it moves into your 3rd house, there may be a lot of important, long overdue conversations that need to be had. and there may be some healing that occurs through these conversations, because the third house has to do with communication, and it may be very relationship orientated. Mercury goes retrograde 3 times this year in 2026, and it's happening in the water sign, so these Mercury retrogrades will be more emotionally impactful, and they also will help us to tap into our intuition to redirect our energy. So Leo, it's a huge year for you ahead. Jupiter entering your sign, bringing a lot of wisdom, expansion, new opportunities and possibilities into your life. Then you have the nodal shift, South Node, the past, what you're growing and evolving from in your sign, and the North Node, what you're moving forward in, will be moving in your opposite sign, Aquarius, in your 7th house of relationships. So there's big changes happening for you in 2026. Let me know your big 3. Let me know what you're most anticipating. I bet it's the Jupiter as well as the eclipses. Let me know in the comment section down below. If you like this video, give it a thumbs up, subscribe, and click on the notification bell. If you want to listen to these episodes on the go, you can also subscribe on Spotify and Apple Podcasts. And I'll see you very soon in your January 2026 horoscope. Much love and take care. Hi Virgo, Virgo rising. Welcome to your 2026 horoscope and yearly forecast. So, there's a lot of shifts happening in the year of 2026. First of all, we're coming to an end with your Pisces and Virgo eclipse energy. That is coming to an end and coming to a completion. So that's something to look forward to as we approach a new cycle. Now, I'm going to go through all the major transits happening in 2026, and then I'm going to go through the eclipses we're having in 2026. So we're going to talk about the new eclipses as well as the eclipses associated with last year in the Pisces and Virgo axis. Okay, so let's kick off with January the 26th. We've got Neptune, the planet of dreams, a planet of illusions, entering Aries. So this is something we've already kind of experienced from last year. And this energy is now re-entering the 8th house of shared resources, shared finances, intimacy, and deep spiritual transformation. Saturn, the planet of discipline and structure, will also enter Aries in your 8th house on February the 13th. So what does this mean? This means that we're becoming more sober and realistic around this area of life. This area needs to be restructured. Any type of illusions associated with this area of life, any type of mist or fog that is causing lack of clarity, that is all going to have to change. Saturn is like, we're going to have boundaries and discipline in this area of life. So it can be a very serious time regarding matters of the 8th house, but it's necessary for maturity and for growth, because at the end of the day, Saturn wants you to become and rise to become the wise sage. So when it comes to boundaries with what you own and share with other people, whether that be in a relationship or some other type of relationship, when it comes to intimacy, when it also comes to just your own boundaries in general, and then also applying more structure when it comes to if you want to do some deep spiritual healing and being more realistic, and also taking a more disciplined approach as well. Moving on, April the 25th, Uranus, the planet of innovation and change, enters Gemini. We've already had a sneak peek with this energy because in 2025, Uranus entered Gemini, but as I'm speaking, it's in Taurus at 29 degrees. So it's going to re-enter Gemini on April the 25th, entering your house of career goals and ambitions, the 10th house. So this is shaking and shifting this area of life. Uranus needs change. It needs stimulation. It's about freedom and liberation. So this area of life may be either unpredictable. You may go through many changes in your work life, or your goals may change rapidly, or you perhaps want to do something that supports you to be your unique self and express your unique self. It may have to do with technology. It may have to do with humanity or the internet, or it may just have to do with you wanting to be more free and liberated. So over the next couple of years, there's going to be a lot of changes happening in this area of life, okay? June the 19th, Chiron the wounded healer enters Taurus. When Chiron enters a new sign or a new house, it can bring up some of our insecurities, triggers, or wounds, and it can support us to overcome them and evolve from them. For you, it's going to enter your ninth house. The ninth house is associated with the higher mind. It's associated with wisdom, philosophies, beliefs, as well as traveling. So any issues around the ninth house, Chiron is going to support you to evolve and grow and provide you with spiritual tools and insights as well. And this could be really great for your spirituality. It could be really great for your beliefs and philosophies, because Chiron can provide you with almost this new perspective that supports you in your healing journey as well. And perhaps even just traveling may be very healing, because it is the ninth house. Moving on, June the 30th, Jupiter enters Leo. Jupiter is about expansion, and it's entering your 12th house, which kind of goes in hand with the ninth house, because Jupiter is going to support you in your spirituality. It's going to support you when it comes to your intuition, your dreams, as well as your connection with the divine, your higher self, universe, whatever spiritual beliefs you have. And also it can provide you with a lot of wisdom, a lot of awakening, and a lot of insight. So it can be a great time for spirituality and even like your creative endeavors as well. It can make you feel really good. Pay attention to your dreams. Have a dream journal, because you may get a lot of insight during dream time as well. July the 26th, the North Node enters Aquarius. And the North Node enters Aquarius, and it will move into your 6th house of your daily habits, routine, as well as mind, body, soul, spirit, wellness, self-care, and work. So there's going to be a lot of focus here. That's what your higher self wants you to develop in. It wants you to focus on. The eclipses will also occur in this area of life. So there's going to be a solar eclipse in Aquarius at 28 degrees on February the 17th. And it's going to be this new beginning, this new cycle. It's going to activate your 6th house. So there could be this new journey that begins pertaining to either your habits and your daily routine and how it impacts your well-being and your self-care and your health, as well as work. And it's going to be this ongoing energy, because when the nodes shift from July the 26th, is going to be an 18-month cycle. So you're going to find yourself developing a lot in that area of life. And then the South Node will be in Leo, which will join Jupiter in your 12th house. So it's about moving away and evolving from past situations, past memories, emotions, karma, if that's something you believe in the concept of karma, evolving, letting go old belief systems, old ways of spirituality. Like, you're developing, you're moving forward. So the eclipses will also occur in the 12th house. You're going to have a solar eclipse in Leo at 20 degrees on August the 12th. So that could be a new shift, a new change, a new activation happening there as well. Now let's get into the Virgo and Pisces eclipses. So March the 3rd, you got a lunar eclipse in Virgo at 12 degrees. So take a look at your chart. If you have any planets in Virgo at 12 degrees or close by, this is going to be really profound and important for you. So we're closing off this cycle, which means anything you've been going through since last year, it's coming to its completion, because it's a lunar eclipse. It's about endings. It's about closure. It's about completion. Okay? So something may really come to an end. You may even receive some clarity that's been really impacting you since last year. And this is a time where you get that missing piece to the puzzle, and then everything comes to a completion. You also are going to have a lunar eclipse in Pisces at 4 degrees on August the 28th, which is also going to be a time of completion. This is more connected with relationships and other people, but also yourself and your life and identity and path and purpose. So again, another opportunity for completion to occur, and we're coming to an end of this cycle and this chapter. September the 10th, you got a new moon in Virgo at 18 degrees. Take a look at your chart. If you have any planets in Virgo at 18 degrees or close by, this is going to be more profound for you. So a new moon in Virgo, which means it's impacting you, your identity, sense of self, life path, purpose, ambitions, and what you want to achieve from this life. This is a very important time for you, and it can be a very magnetic time for you as well, because it's your annual new moon, which means you're going to be very intentional, because you can manifest a lot during this time, and it's a rebirth, a new 12-month cycle as well. Virgo rising. There's so much happening in 2026, including a Venus retrograde. Yes, we got a Venus retrograde happening. I mean, you've already been going through a lot of relationship stuff in 2025. On October the 3rd, Venus, a planet of love, relationships, creativity, and values, enters retrograde motion in the sign of Scorpio, impacting your 3rd house. Now, Venus does reflect a lot on relationships when it's in retrograde. It goes over certain relationships. It's about reevaluating your relationship and then redirecting the energy of your relationship. Some people may go through a breakup. Some people may be mending and fixing their relationships. If you're single, this could be just on working on yourself and past relationships, working on your heart chakra, or even working on creative projects or your just sense of self and values. Because it's in the 3rd house for you, there's an emphasis on thinking and really analyzing, as well as communication may be very important. There may be some contracts or communication involved that can really determine the future of the relationship. Now, Venus will also move back into Libra in the 2nd house, and that's associated with what you own, resources, finances, as well as sense of self and sense of self-worth. So there may be a lot of going over those issues and themes, and there may be a lot of reflecting and redirecting your energy in that area of life. Mercury retrograde is happening in the water signs in the year of 2026. So the Mercury retrogrades are going to be more emotional, more sensitive, more sentimental, but they're definitely going to support us to tap into our intuition to redirect our energy. Now, Mercury is very important because it's your ruler, so it impacts you quite a lot. But because it's in the watery sign, sometimes it can be a bit more difficult for you because you're an earth sign. But nonetheless, when you have a certain element in your life, it's good to tap into other elements, because we need a balance of all of the elements, right? So that water can really support you in your own self-growth and self-evolution journey. Virgo rising, it's quite a year in 2026, right? So let me know what you're looking forward to. What are you anticipating? What are your big 3? Leave a comment down below. How have these eclipses been for you? I want to know. Are you looking forward to these eclipses coming to an end in 2026? Leave a comment down below. If you enjoyed this video, give it a thumbs up, subscribe, click on the notification bell, share. And I will speak with you soon in your January 2026 horoscope. And you can also listen to these episodes on Apple Podcasts or Spotify on the go. Wishing you all the best. Take care. Lots of love. And I'll speak with you soon. Hi Libra rising. Let's get into 2026 and your yearly horoscope and astrology forecast. So there are many changes happening in the year of 2026. And in this video, I'm going to go through the major key changes in 2026. And then I'm going to get into the eclipses and your annual full moon and your annual new moon. So let's dive straight into it. Let's kick off with January the 26th, when Neptune, the planet of dreams and illusions, enters your opposite sign, Aries. So we've already had a little sneak peek of this energy in 2025, but now it's going to move back into your opposite sign, Aries. And this is going to be impacting relationships because it's going to be in your 7th house. And the 7th house is relationships, marriages, committed partnerships, as well as this area of life can also rule over other people. Now, with Neptune here, Neptune is a very interesting planet because it's an energy that rules a couple of different things. On one hand, it rules over your sensitivities. It rules over intuition and dreams. You can get into psychic energy. But then on the other hand, it can also, and this is kind of like a contradiction, but it can also rule over illusions and rule over energies that are not so clear and kind of misty and foggy. But this energy's interpretation really changes in the 7th house because Saturn will also be joining Neptune on February the 13th in the sign of Aries in your 7th house. Now, Saturn is the complete opposite to Neptune. Saturn is about reality. Saturn is about authority and discipline and commitment and time. It's known as a very karmic energy because it can bring up a lot of things that you've been avoiding. So anything that you've been avoiding, especially in relationships, or if you have been kind of looking at relationships from rose-tinted glasses, or you have not set any strong boundaries in relationships, or if you have not really confronted the harsh truth of your relationships, this energy will bring up everything to the surface. Saturn with a Neptune in the 7th house, it can bring reality up to the point of where it can leave you, or it can leave the Neptune energy of you slightly disappointed. Now, that doesn't mean this is a negative transit or a negative energy. It's not. It's just gonna make everything just really real. It's gonna start to clear up any mist, clear up any fog or any confusion. Sure, when this energy enters, when Neptune enters Aries in January, there may be some confusion or lack of clarity, but when Saturn really settles into the 7th house, everything's going to become more serious in relationships. Now, you're one of the zodiac signs that's always going through some type of relationship transit, and that's because you're ruled by Venus. So Libras are very relationship dominated. Like, relationships are very important to you, and I often find that Libras are one of the zodiac signs that are always either in a relationship, or they're always attracting some type of romantic relationship into their life because you're ruled by Venus, so of course you are. Now, with Saturn in the 7th house, if you are in a long-term relationship, this could be like making your relationship more serious, really getting committed to each other. This could be a long-term commitment such as marriage, or you may even attract somebody that's very Saturnian or very Neptunian as well. So it really depends on your chart. It depends on your 7th house. It depends on what is already in your 7th house or what these planets are also aspecting and triggering in your charts. But it's making relationships very serious, and it's about seeing the truth of relationships, not sugarcoating relationships, not looking at them from rose-tinted glasses, but being very serious about them, being very aware, and being more disciplined in relationships as well. That's a key component with Saturn, and also becoming more wiser and becoming more mature, making your relationships more mature as well, okay? It's more than just the romantic part of relationships. It's about the boundaries. It's about the structure in your relationship. It's about the discipline in your relationship. It's about how much energy and time you're pouring into your relationships as well. Moving on, August the 25th, Uranus, a planet of innovation and change, enters Gemini. So it's re-entering Gemini, which means the focus is going to be on your higher mind. In the 9th house, it's about philosophies, wisdom, as well as travel. So you may find yourself looking up and researching just exciting things that really stimulate your mind. Your spiritual beliefs or philosophies may also change. You may also want to travel a lot or go on adventures. Uranus is about stimulation. So it needs constant stimulation and adventure, and that may be through travel for you. So there may be a lot of travel involved. June the 19th, Chiron, the wounded healer, enters Taurus. Now, Chiron is a planet that can reveal where we have experienced hurt, or where there's pain, or there's triggers or wounds. And it's going to be in the 8th house. So 8th house is about what you share with others. This could be shared resources. It could be shared finances. It could be intimacy. It could also be where you experience deep spiritual transformation. So with Chiron here, you can really do a lot of healing, a lot of deep spiritual healing. And this could be connected to all sorts of areas of your life as well, because ultimately the 8th house is an area of life that's very mystical, but then it has so many layers. It can be very complex. But with Chiron here, Chiron is a key to healing. Chiron is like I said, he's known as a wounded healer. So any type of pain you've experienced, especially regarding the 8th house, masters of the 8th house, of sharing, anything you share with somebody, it could be the material, but then it can also be sharing intimacy with somebody, sharing emotions with somebody, sharing just life experiences. This energy can really help you to do a lot of deep spiritual transformation. June the 30th, Jupiter, the planet of expansion, enters Leo. Jupiter will be entering your 11th house of friendships, groups, social networks, acquaintances, and also hopes and wishes for the future. So this could be a time where you're really enjoying the company of others, you're hanging around a lot with friends, you're socializing a lot, you're very positive, you're having great experiences, and also you're focused on your hopes and visions for the future. Now, Jupiter is also an amplifier, so if you already have planets in the 11th house, it can also amplify that area of life. So that's an exciting change. It's moving out of your 10th house and moving into your 11th house. Now, also, we're going to have the nodes shift in 2026. So July the 26th, the North Node enters Aquarius and the South Node enters Leo. So the North Node will enter Aquarius, joining Pluto in the 5th house. So it's really exciting because the 5th house is a house of joy. It's a house of self-expression, creativity, pleasure, leisure. This is also where you find romantic relationships as well. So think of the North Node as a destiny point, the timeline where your higher self wants you to evolve and grow in. And the North Node in Aquarius means this is where you're also going to experience the eclipses. So you've got a solar eclipse happening in Aquarius on February the 17th at 28 degrees. So this could be the start of something new, an activation regarding this area of life. So when it comes to your creativity, when it comes to how you have fun, creative opportunities, creative possibilities, self-expression, how you experience joy, also romantic relationships, there could be something new that occurs here because this is a solar eclipse. And then we've got a solar eclipse in Leo at 20 degrees on August the 12th, and that's going to happen in your 11th house. So that can also activate your 11th house. Now, what's interesting is even though you've got the solar eclipse in Leo, which is a new beginning, a new shift, a new change in friendships, groups, hopes, and wishes for the future, you also have the South Node here, and the South Node has to do with letting go of the past. It has to do with evolving from the past. So any type of past issues associated with the 11th house, it's about moving away from them, but then also with Jupiter here and the solar eclipse, there could be this new change or new shift that occurs. We're also finishing up with a Virgo and Pisces eclipses. So March the 3rd, we've got a lunar eclipse in Virgo at 12 degrees. So that lunar eclipse is happening for you in your, I'm trying to look for where it is. It's happening for you in your 12th house. I don't know why that was so difficult. It's happening for you in the 12th house of the past, of past situations, sensitivities, your intuition, dreams, spirituality. So there's almost like this closure you can receive during this lunar eclipse, or a cycle comes to an end, or anything you've been navigating through, especially since the last year, 2025, this cycle is coming to its completion and ending, a finale. And then you're going to have a lunar eclipse in Pisces at 4 degrees in Pisces on August the 28th in the 6th house. So the 6th house is more about your routine, how your life is structured, habits, mind, body, soul, spirit, and also work. So you're finishing up this cycle as well. So all that you've been going through in 2025, that cycle is now coming to an end, and you will receive closure here as well. We also have your full moon happening on April the 1st in Libra at 12 degrees. So the full moon means that the sun will be in your opposite sign, Aries, in your 7th house, and the moon will be in your 1st house of Libra. So this is about you, life path, identity, life purpose, and also relationships play a huge part with full moon. So that's going to be in the limelight as well. And those that have Libra planets at 12 degrees, you'll feel this full moon the most. It could be some type of breakthrough or transformation you experience regarding 1st house and 7th house matters. And then you also have your annual new moon in Libra on October the 10th at 17 degrees. So those of you that have 17 degrees of Libra in your chart, you'll feel the manifestation of this much more strongly. But even if you don't have any planets close to that degree, it's still your annual new moon, which means this is a new start, a new beginning, a new cycle. It's a new moon, which means you got to be intentional because it's very strong and powerful, and it's about creating. So that's happening in your 1st house, which is all about you and your life, your identity, life path, and purpose. So it's going to be a very special new moon for you. Now this year we also have Venus going retrograde on October the 3rd. Venus goes retrograde in the sign of Scorpio. which means it's going to start off in your second house of what you own, resources. This is about the material. This is also about your self-worth. So this could be working on finances, or it could be working on your values, working on self-worth. It could also mean working on creativity and relationships. And this is about slowing down and reflecting. And with Scorpio gives you laser sharp focus as well. So especially anything that has been hidden from you or anything that needs to be transformed. Venus retrograde in Scorpio can help you with that. But what's interesting is your ruler, Venus, will also re-enter your sign. So it will really make you reflect on relationships and do a lot of relationship healing. Now, this relationship healing can be about healing yourself first. It can be about focusing on yourself, your needs and wants and desires. And if you are in a relationship, it's about reflecting, looking at what's going well in your relationship and what needs more work. There could be some breakups, there could be some relationships from the past coming up, but it's about healing the heart chakra. That's what's important, expanding the heart chakra. And if you are in a relationship, is that relationship supporting you in that, or is it not? So it's going to be a very important time for those that are in a relationship during Venus retrograde. We also have Mercury retrograde happening in the water signs in 2026. So it's going to happen in Scorpio, it's going to happen in Pisces and Cancer. So that is going to be a very emotional time as well, but it's going to help us to really tap into our intuition to maneuver through that retrograde period. Libra rising, I'm wishing you all the best in the year of 2026. A lot of changes happening, a lot of relationship energy for you in the year of 2026. Let me know what you're looking forward to in the next year, and also your big three. Leave a comment down below if you like this video, give it a thumbs up, and also you can listen to these episodes on the go on Spotify and Apple Podcasts. I'll leave a link down below, and I will speak with you soon in your January 2026 horoscope. Wishing you all the best. Take care. Scorpio, welcome to your 2026 horoscope and astrology forecast. What a year ahead. It's action-packed, and we have a lot of fixed energy coming through in the year of 2026, which is impacting very strong areas of your life, okay? So we have a lot to get through, so I'm going to kick off with the major changes, the planetary changes, and then I'm going to get into the eclipses of 2026 and your annual full moon and new moon. Starting off with January the 26th, the planet of dreams and illusions enters Aries and enters your sixth house. February the 13th, Saturn, the planet of discipline, authority, and time, also enters Aries in your sixth house. So your sixth house is going to be very emphasized, not only in 2026, but the next couple of years to come as well, especially with Neptune, which is going to be there for a very long time. When Saturn and Neptune come together, the interpretation of these planets changes because they're impacting one area of your life, but together with their energy. So there could be a lot of reality checks with this area of life. You may come to a lot of strong realizations about your everyday life and how it's structured, the routines and habits that you have in your everyday life, and how they play a role in your self-care, in your wellness, as well as your well-being. So this is very much emphasized where Saturn, especially Saturn may make you put in a lot of work and make you put a lot of effort and put a lot of your energy and time into restructuring your everyday life, as well as perhaps looking at your life and looking at where you need to apply more self-care. What part of your daily life or routine do you need to change so that you can actually take care of yourself? Because with Saturn and Neptune together, whereas Neptune is more of an enabler, Saturn is more the disciplinary. But Saturn really overpowers Neptune. So Neptune can be left kind of disappointed with just the truth and with having to make certain changes, but it's necessary because Saturn actually supports you to become more wiser, to become more mature. And if you work with it in a more higher manifestational energy, it's about becoming more authoritative over your own life, having more authority over your life. And in the 6th house, it's having more authority over your daily life and how you take care of yourself. This also has to do with work, because the 6th house is work related as well. So there may be some changes regarding work, putting more time, energy, effort into work. Perhaps you want to change your work environment, and it may be either very Saturnian or Neptunian. Neptunian in the sense of it has to do with either art and creativity, or it has to do with taking care of others, or whereas Saturn is more authoritative and it is more disciplinary, so that may also be a work environment that you may be led into or you choose. It really just depends on your individual chart, but it's about restructuring your everyday life, taking care of your mind, body, soul, and spirit, okay? And then these energies may actually push you to take care of yourself. Moving on, April the 25th, Uranus re-enters Gemini. So it's moving out of your 7th house into your 8th house. And Uranus is a planet of change and innovation. And wherever it lands in your chart, it shakes things up. And it pushes you to be more sovereign, to be more independent and free and completely yourself. With the 8th house, this has to do with other people and the resources or finances that you share with other people. This could be relationship orientated as well, because the 8th house can be an extension of the 7th house. So this could also have to do with intimacy and deep spiritual transformation. So there may be also, if you are in a relationship, you perhaps feel like you need to experience more independence in terms of your sexual expression, or you may want to try new things. Uranus can be very adventurous in terms of spirituality, and in doing a lot of deep spiritual work. With Uranus here, you may find different ways of working through any type of issues you've been dealing with. Uranus is all about liberation, so you may find different unique ways, holistic ways of liberating yourself, or trying out new different formats that support you to do a lot of deep spiritual work and healing. You may even be really interested in learning about the taboo or very deep spiritual esoteric topics as well. So you may be very interested in learning and expanding your just level of awareness and mind. June the 19th, Chiron enters Taurus. So this energy is very interesting because you've just had Uranus in your 7th house really shaking up relationships, but here comes Chiron into your 7th house. So just when you thought, oh, Uranus is out of my 7th house, but the work still continues. Now, Chiron is known as a wounded healer, and when it moves into a different sign and new area of life, it supports us to be more aware of our insecurities, our triggers and wounds, and it supports us to navigate and evolve from them. So 7th house is relationships and other people. So any triggers, wounds, insecurities regarding this area of life, you may become more aware of that now with this transit. And this transit is going to be a very long transit as well. So it's going to impact everyone at different times. It really depends on your personal chart. But overall, it's about healing relationship wounds. So Chiron can be really supportive in the healing journey. Jupiter enters Leo on June the 30th. Jupiter is a planet of expansion, and it enters your 10th house of career, goals, and ambition. So when Jupiter enters a new sign, a new area of life, it tends to, the positive anyways, tends to bring forth more expansion, and typically Jupiter is associated with abundance. So this could be a time where you're feeling really good about career goals and ambitions, and there's a lot of room to expand and a lot of opportunities that come, so that can be a great positive. Sometimes Jupiter is just an amplifier. For example, if you have planets in your 10th house already, it can amplify the energy of those planets as well. But there seems to be a lot of joy and brightness in this area of life. And what's interesting is on July the 26th, the nodes change signs. So the North Node will move out of Pisces, entering Aquarius, and the South Node will move out of Virgo, entering Leo. So you're going to have the North Node join Pluto in your 4th house of home, family, security, and sense of belonging. So think of it as the destiny point, the timeline that your higher self is asking you to focus on, and that is regarding home and family life. So that may be quite important, especially because you're going to have the eclipses in this area of life. So you're going to have a solar eclipse in Aquarius at 28 degrees on February the 17th. This could be an activator, a time where this area of life, or the journey of the North Node in this area of life, really kickstarts. And then you've got the South Node, which is typically what we're moving away from, what we're evolving from, is in your 10th house in the sign of Leo. So this could have to do with perhaps moving away from past goals or past work and career related endeavors, and in moving into just a new energy. And it's really interesting because on one hand you got Jupiter that is really expanding this area of life, and then you've got the South Node, which is helping you to move away from the past associated with this area of life. So perhaps you want to change things up, perhaps you want new opportunities, perhaps you want to change up your career life, and it's associated and attached perhaps with home and family, because you've got a lot of energy in the 4th house as well. Perhaps you're trying to find a way so that you can also maintain and balance home and family life as well. And you're going to have a solar eclipse in Leo at 20 degrees on August the 12th. So there could be this new possibility, new adventure, new opportunity, or just it really kickstarting this journey of the South Node and Jupiter in your 10th house. What's interesting is Pluto, the powerhouse, your ruler, is in the 4th house. So there's a lot of deep spiritual transformation that is occurring in the 4th house, and it's going to happen over time, and it won't impact everyone at the same time either. But throughout this journey of Pluto in Aquarius, and then you're going to have the North Node shifting into Aquarius on July the 26th, it seems like this is really also kickstarting your journey of doing a lot of ancestral healing, doing a lot of healing when it comes to family dynamics. And perhaps you're someone who is on this journey of breaking ancestral curses, breaking ancestral patterns that have not been positive. This energy can really support you in that, because Aquarius is also about freedom and independence. So this could really be very positive if you are on that spiritual healing path. Now let's get into Venus retrograde, because it's happening in your sign. It's going to start off on October the 3rd. It's going to start off in Scorpio, and then it will move back into Libra. Now this is really going to impact relationships, because Venus is all about love and relationships and partnerships and values, and it can also be about creativity. And when it's in retrograde, there's a deep focus on going over your relationships, going over your values, going over the area of life Venus is traveling through. And with Venus being in your sign, it's more personal, because it's in your 1st house of you, your identity, your life path and purpose. And opposite is going to be Chiron, which is in your 7th house of relationships and other people. So there's a lot of relationship stuff that's coming up, and it's going to be really strong and heavy because it's in Scorpio. So Scorpio really brings forth the truth. It brings forth the secrets, anything that is hidden, buried. So it can impact relationships. There could be a lot of breakups. There could be a lot of healing as well, a lot of moving forward. But it's going to be a very deep, intimate, spiritual time for you, because it's in your 1st house. So there's a lot of reflecting on yourself, a lot of reflecting on perhaps past relationships, especially when Venus moves back into Libra. It will enter your 12th house. So there may be some type of karmic situation, relationship that you kind of have to navigate through, overcome, or even just when it comes to your own emotions. So a lot of relationship healing opportunity is available. And it doesn't always have to be just on relationships. I mean, that's definitely one of the main focuses with Venus retrograde, but it can also if you're like a creative person and you work in the field of creativity, it can support you to kind of reflect on your creativity and help you to redirect your energy. Also, when it comes to your values, working on your personal values and working on the heart chakra as well. Now let's talk about the eclipses that are happening in the Pisces and Virgo axis, because we're finishing them off in 2026. So for the last year or so, the eclipses have been impacting your 5th and 11th house. And now we're coming to the finale points of this, and the eclipses we're going to have one on March the 3rd, a lunar eclipse in Virgo at 12 degrees, and that will be impacting your 11th house of friendships, groups, and networks, and hopes and wishes for the future. So that cycle is coming to an end. So there may be a finale, a closing of a cycle, a closing of a chapter, or just something coming into fruition regarding that area of life. And then you're going to have a lunar eclipse on August the 28th at 4 degrees of Pisces, and that's going to be in the 5th house. So that's connected to how you have fun, how you feel pleasure, what you do to experience creativity and joy in your life, self-expression. This could even have to do with a romantic relationship. So that energy is also, that cycle is coming to a close, coming to an end, but there can also be some type of completion of something transforming that occurs in this area of life, because the cycles are ending, and it has to do with what you've been going through throughout 2025 with the eclipses. Okay, now let's get into your full moon and new moon. So we've got a full moon in Scorpio happening on May the 1st at 11 degrees. So this is a full moon, which means the sun will be in Taurus and the moon will be in Scorpio. So this is also impacting you in relationships, because you're going to have the moon in the 1st house and the sun in the 7th house. So there could be a transformation that occurs here regarding you, your identity, life path, purpose, and relationships and other people. And especially those that have planets in Scorpio at 11 degrees or close by, this will be more profound and more potent for you. Then we have a new moon in Scorpio on November the 9th at 16 degrees. So this is all about you, your annual new moon. So this is a new cycle, a new energy coming in, and it has to do with you, your identity, life path, purpose, goals. And it's very important that you're intentional during this time, because it's a very powerful time for you, and especially those that have planets at 16 degrees or close by in the sign of Scorpio, because you can really create for yourself. You can put that energy out to the universe for to create something new or manifest, and it's a very important time for you as well as a Scorpio dominant. We also have Mercury going retrograde in your sign in 2026. So again, this is emphasizing on taking time to reflect, go over certain areas of your life. And because it's going to be in Scorpio, it's going to be in your 1st house, that does impact you and your identity, life path, purpose, and goals. So it seems like that kind of energy and those themes are going to be taking a lot of space in 2026. But also, we have Mercury retrograde happening in the other water signs. It's going to happen in Pisces, as well as it's going to happen in the sign of Cancer. So this may be a time where there's a lot of focus on, again, the eclipse energy, where you're going to have the lunar eclipse in Pisces on August the 28th. So that energy may also still continue with this Mercury retrograde, which is going to happen in Pisces very earlier on in February. And then you got Mercury retrograde happening in the other water sign, Cancer, as well. So that's going to happen in your 9th house of travel, higher mind, higher learning, philosophies, faith. So there may be a lot of reflecting or redirecting your energy as well. And don't fear Mercury retrograde, because it actually supports us to go over certain things that we perhaps have missed, so that we can have a better understanding and idea of how to move forward, and it supports us to redirect our energy. But it may be a very emotional time, but it can also support us to work on our intuition. Okay, so Scorpio rising, I'm wishing you all the best for 2026. It seems like there's a lot of changes and a lot of going over certain things from the past happening for you, and also a lot of expansion in your career goals and ambitions. So I'm wishing you all the best. Take care. Let me know your big three. Let me know what you're looking forward to in the comment section down below. If you enjoyed this horoscope, give it some love by giving it a like. And also you can listen to these videos on Spotify and Apple Podcasts. I'll leave the link down below, and I will see you in your January 2026 horoscope. Lots of love. Hi Sag Rising, welcome to your 2026 yearly horoscope. So 2026 is action-packed, there are many planetary changes happening, and we have some brand new eclipse energy coming through in the year of 2026. So what I'm going to do in this yearly forecast for you is I'm going to go through the major changes, the major transits of 2026, and then I'm going to get into the eclipses and your annual new moon and full moon. So let's kick off with January the 26th. because a planet of dreams and illusions re-enters Aries. So we've already had a sneak peek of this energy in 2025, but now it's re-entering your fifth house. And the fifth house is the house of fun, the house of joy. This is where you find your inner child. This is where you find your creativity. This is where you express yourself. This is what you do for fun, how you play. This could also have to do with romantic relationships as well. So with Neptune here, it can boost your creativity. It can give you so much creative inspiration. And also you may find yourself really being very inspirational to others as well by just how much you're expressing yourself, how much you're expressing yourself spiritually as well. So if you work in the arts or you work in creativity, this can really be very expansive for you. Now, what's interesting is February the 13th, Saturn, the planet of discipline and time, also enters Aries, so it will join Neptune. Now, Saturn is very different to Neptune. Saturn is a disciplinary. It's the authority figure. It makes you work hard. It supports you to grow into a wise sage and mature, and it has a lot to do with time and patience. So when Saturn enters a fifth house, it can make Neptune a little more serious as well, whereas Neptune is very watery and airy. It likes to go with the flow. It likes to go with whatever inspires it in the moment. Saturn brings a much more sober and realistic approach to the fifth house. So on one hand, you might find that in early of this transit in January 26th, in the first couple of weeks, you may find yourself feeling very just inspired and just very creative, but then Saturn is going to kind of discipline your creativity. It's going to support you to create, but create with intention, create with a goal in mind. And with Saturn, sometimes it can bring melancholy, where it can make things a bit more serious, or where you want to have so much fun and you want to be in an adventure. Saturn kind of tones that down a bit and actually says, okay, we're about working and playing. We need a balance of both, right? So Saturn may make this area of life more serious, but it can support you to structure your creativity. It can help you to balance work and play, as well as to be very intentional and look at the areas of just and aspects of your life where you're probably being just too adventurous to the point of neglecting responsibilities or not having enough boundaries. So that's a lesson with Saturn, but Saturn is here to mature this area of life. April the 25th, Uranus enters Gemini. Uranus will re-enter your seventh house, which is really huge for you because this is the area of life that rules over relationships and other people, and relationships make the world go around. So with Uranus here, it's kind of making relationships a little more unpredictable. You may attract somebody who's not usually somebody you'd go for, is not your usual type. They're very different and very unique and very eccentric. Or perhaps if you are in a relationship, a very long-term relationship, Uranus is kind of spicing things up a bit where you need something different. You need something different in your relationship. You need to kind of change things in your relationship, or you need more freedom or more independence, which can make the status of your relationship a little unpredictable. So Uranus wants excitement, it wants adventure, it wants change, it wants something different. And if you've been following this certain routine in your relationship, or your relationship has been going one way for such a long time, Uranus is really going to change that up. And that may be sometimes a bit challenging for either you or the other person, but it seems like change is needed. There needs to be something that stimulates you in your relationship, because during this time, and it doesn't even actually have to be you, it could even be your partner. This could manifest in your partner, because the seventh house is more about other people than you. So it could even be your partner feeling like they need change or they need something different. But it's about freedom and independence. Moving on, Chiron, the wounded healer, is going to enter Taurus on June the 19th, which means it will enter your sixth house of your everyday life, routine, habits, wellness, self-care, as well as work. Now, this is very interesting because Chiron is an energy that can bring up your insecurities or triggers or wounds, and it can help you to be aware of them, first of all, and then help you to navigate through them so you can work on them, grow from them, and evolve from them. Chiron is going to support you to evolve in terms of how your everyday life is structured and some of the routines you have in your everyday life and the habits, and to evolve from them so that they can support you in a more healing way. This could also have to do with your wellness as well as work as well, and how you are of service to others. So it can be a very spiritual transit. June the 30th, Jupiter, the planet of expansion, enters fiery Leo in your 9th house. Now, when Jupiter enters a new area of life, it can really amplify the energy. And because the 9th house has to do with your mind, it has to do with learning, philosophies, faith, wisdom, as well as travel, and Jupiter is very much at home in the 9th house, there could be a lot of expansion in terms of how you think, your spirituality, your spiritual beliefs, as well as there could be a lot of traveling. Now, Jupiter is a very feel-good energy. Sometimes if you already have planets in your 9th house, it can amplify those planets, so the interpretation can slightly change. But because you are ruled by Jupiter and your ruler is entering the 9th house, this is very exciting for you. It's going to be a really good transit for you. Now, what's super interesting about this is that July the 26th, the nodes change signs. So the North Node will enter Aquarius and the South Node will enter Leo. So the North Node will enter the 3rd house where Pluto is at, and then the South Node will enter the 9th house where Jupiter is at. So it's very interesting because there may be a lot of shedding old patterns, shedding old ways of thinking, shedding old beliefs, especially with the South Node in the 9th house. And then there may be a lot of new ideas, new perspectives, new ways of thinking will start to emerge with the North Node in the 3rd house. The North Node in the 3rd house in the sign of Aquarius is really going to support you to be more open-minded. I mean, you're already very open-minded, but it's going to support you to learn about new things, and you may find an interest in learning and researching about topics that perhaps you weren't really interested in before. This could have to do with humanity, society, or technology as well, because we're looking at the North Node and Pluto being in the sign of Aquarius, so it's going to really support to expand your mind. And especially even if you work in any area of communication, whether it being researching or public speaking or even travel to some extent, this could be quite an interesting time for you where there's a lot of developments, because the North Node is the destiny point. It's where we're headed, where the higher self is wanting you to expand in, okay? And since we're on that topic, let's talk about the eclipses, because we're going to have a solar eclipse in Aquarius on February the 17th, which is going to activate the 3rd house, and this eclipse is going to be at 28 degrees, so take a look at your chart. So there may be something new that occurs, a new opportunity, whether that being a new opportunity to travel somewhere, especially in more of your local environment, or that has to do with your mind, research, or communication. And then we also have a solar eclipse in Leo, which is going to be a South Node eclipse on August the 12th at 20 degrees in your 9th house. So this could have to do with travel. This could have to do with your spirituality, wisdom, or your philosophies as well. So there could be an activation there. And let's also get into all the other eclipses, because we're still closing off the Pisces and Virgo eclipses. So on March the 3rd, we have a lunar eclipse in Virgo, and that will be impacting your 10th house of career goals and ambition. So anything you kind of need to still finish off or complete, or something that still needs to come into fruition, it's going to be quite huge, because it's kind of like the final Virgo eclipse, and it's going to be at 12 degrees. So that is associated with your 10th house. So that has been a very important area of life for the last couple of eclipses for you. And then also we're going to have another lunar eclipse in Pisces at 4 degrees on August the 28th in your 4th house of home, family, security, and stability. Again, you're finishing off this karmic cycle. This cycle is coming to a close, a finale, an ending, and a transformation. So your 10th and 4th house axis is really coming to completion with all that you've been going through regarding home, family, security, as well as career goals and ambitions. Now let's get into your annual lunar events. So on May the 31st, you got a full moon in your sign at 9 degrees. So those Sags that have 9 degrees of Sag, you will be impacted by this energy the most. And this has to do with you, your identity, life path, and purpose, as well as relationships. And Uranus is in your 7th house. So it's really shifting and changing relationships. There could be this major transformation that occurs, or at least it's the beginning of this major transformation journey with you and somebody else. But especially the focus, because it's a full moon, it has to do with letting things go. It has to do with completion. It has to do with things coming to fruition as well. And then you also have your new moon in Sagittarius on December the 8th. So this is going to be very important for you because it's your annual new moon at 16 degrees. So those Sags that have 16 degrees of Sag in their chart or close by, this is going to be very important for you. And this is a new beginning, a new start, a new cycle, a new 12-month cycle for you. So make sure you're very intentional during this day because it's very special and you can really work to create a lot in your life and manifest. And it has to do with you, your identity, life path, and purpose. Now, we also have Venus retrograde happening this year, and it's going to happen in Scorpio, and then it's going to move into Libra. Venus retrograde is similar to Mercury retrograde, although the focus is more about relationships, love, creativity, values, and a sense of self as well. So starts off in the 12th house, so this could be very karmic in nature. This could have to do with past relationships or any type of confusion that was associated with a past relationship. This is perhaps when you're navigating through it, or perhaps you're navigating through some emotions from past relationships or emotions that you're currently feeling in a relationship or things that are even hidden. Because this is in the 12th house, the 12th house is a very hidden area of life as well. And then on top of that, it's in Scorpio. So you may be navigating through some strong emotions or any secrets that need to come up or any issues from the past that are kind of preventing you from moving on. And then Venus retrograde will also move back into Libra, its home sign. So that focus will then perhaps go back into other people in terms of friends, groups, anybody you're acquainted to, anything that is kind of still up in the air and you don't know what direction you're going towards with friendships or other people. You might have to navigate through that, or even when it comes to your hopes and wishes for the future and your creativity and your values that is attached with that area of life. We also have Mercury retrograde happening in 2026, as we do every single year. But this time around, it's happening in the water sign. So it's going to be happening in Pisces. So that's going to be impacting home, family life, and your sense of security. It's also going to be happening in the sign of Cancer, which is going to happen in the 8th house for you. So we're looking at shared resources, finances, intimacy, spiritual transformation, and also the 12th house, which is going to be connected to the Venus retrograde. So, Sag rising, I hope you have an incredible year in 2026. May everything work out in your favor. And let me know your big three. Let me know what you're excited to experience in 2026. Leave a comment down below. If you enjoyed this episode, make sure you show it some love. You can also listen to these episodes on the go. So make sure you subscribe on Spotify and Apple Podcasts. And I'll see you in your January 2026 horoscope. Take care. Capricorn, welcome to your 2026 astrology horoscope and forecast. So there's a lot to unpack for 2026, a lot of changes, and we have a new eclipse energy on the way this year as well. So what I'm going to do in this video is I'm going to start off with the planetary changes, and then I'll get into the eclipses and your annual new moon and full moon in 2026. Let's start off with January the 26th, where we have Neptune that re-enters Aries. So you've already had a bit of a sneak peek to this energy because Neptune has already dipped its energy into your 4th house that rules over home, family, as well as your sense of security, stability, and sense of belonging. On January 26th, this energy will re-enter this area of life. And so will Saturn on February the 13th enter Aries and move into your fourth house. Now, these two energies, Neptune and Saturn, are very different. Very different, but when they come together, they create a whole nother meaning. Now, Neptune is known as the planet of dreams, creativity. It rules over sensitivity. It also has a lot to do with, when we look at the shadows, it can have a lot to do with illusions and things not being clear. It has a lot to do with escaping tendencies, whereas Saturn is the disciplinary. It's all about structure and discipline, responsibilities. Sometimes a shadow manifestation can be restrictions or delays, but overall this energy supports us to become more wiser and more responsible and mature. If you've been looking at the fourth house from rose-tinted glasses, or if there has been any type of illusion or things haven't been clear, or there's been a lack of clarity in this area of life, well, with Saturn and Neptune coming together, things will start to become really clear, and I mean crystal clear. You'll start to even perhaps put everything in perspective. This area of life may need to be reorganized or restructured, and there may be a lot of time spent. You may spend a lot of energy as well in this area of life, and with Saturn here, it's about taking this area of life more seriously. With a Capricorn dominant, typically their priorities involve achieving and accomplishing their goals. But because Saturn, your ruler, is in the fourth house, Saturn is asking for you to focus a lot of your energy and put in your time in this area of life. Saturn is also very karmic in nature, so any type of karma or even ancestral karma can be worked through with this transit. And you can also do a lot of spiritual healing as well with both Saturn and Neptune in the fourth house. Moving on, April the 25th, Uranus, the planet of innovation and change, enters Gemini. It will move back into the sixth house of your daily life, structure, habits, self-care, wellness, as well as work. There may be a change in your everyday life, a spontaneous change that is either very much needed or it just happens out of nowhere, where your everyday life, the way it's structured and your habits and your routine completely change, or you may feel like you need more independence or freedom, or a huge change at work as well where you need to be more stimulated. There could also be some unpredictability here as well, but overall Uranus is also the enlightener, so it's here to also enlighten you through this area of life. But the priority here is, of course, taking care of yourself, mind, body, soul, spirit, as well as your work. June the 19th, Chiron, the wounded healer, enters Taurus. Now, when Chiron changes signs and houses, it helps us to navigate through insecurities, triggers, or wounds, and supports us to gain awareness and also do a lot of self-healing as well. Now, Chiron will be entering your fifth house, and this is very interesting because the fifth house is about fun. It's a house of joy. It's about fun, pleasure. It's about creativity, expression, romantic relationships as well. So with Chiron here, you may find yourself really reflecting on where perhaps you're lacking having fun. You know, are you someone who's just always serious and always has your guard up? And where is it that you need to kind of loosen up? You may realize that, in fact, you haven't had a balance of work and play, and perhaps you've been so work focused that you feel like you've kind of neglected the inner child. So the fifth house also being the inner child, you can do also a lot of inner child healing with Chiron in the fifth house, and also use your creativity and the way you express yourself as a medium for healing. So that is a very interesting transit, but it can support you in really in learning how to enjoy life, learning how to incorporate more fun into your life. It can help you also to express yourself through creativity, work on your confidence, and also you can also do a lot of inner child healing as well. June the 30th, Jupiter will enter Leo. Jupiter is the planet of expansion, and it will move into your 8th house. The 8th house rules over what you share known with others. This could be shared resources, finances. This could also be intimacy. You could also do a lot of deep spiritual transformation in the 8th house. With Jupiter here, Jupiter expands. So there could be some expansion between you and someone else where if you share something with them, even when it comes to if you're in a relationship and you're trying to take a relationship to the next level, you're trying to get more closer, you're trying to bond on a much more deeper spiritual intimate level, this could support you in that. It can also support you in your spirituality. It could support you to do a lot of deep spiritual healing as well, but it has more of like a positive influence and a positive attitude towards the deep spiritual healing. Now, with Jupiter being in Leo, there could be a sense of pride involved here as well. There could also be a lot of generosity here as well. So you have to know your boundaries. Sometimes you can just, with Jupiter especially, just give because you just feel good, just because of the feeling. So with Jupiter, it requires a lot of reasoning and a lot of logic as well. It requires a lot of boundaries as well. Jupiter is also an amplifier. So if you already have planets in the 8th house, if Jupiter connects with them, it will amplify that energy. So that varies on what planets are already in your 8th house or what other planets Jupiter is making aspects to. Moving on, July the 26th, the North Node enters Aquarius and the South Node enters Leo. So the North Node will join Pluto in your 2nd house of what you own, finances, resources, and material, as well as your self-worth. And then the South Node will join Jupiter, which is in Leo in the 8th house of shared finances, resources, intimacy, and deep spiritual transformation. So this is showing that your higher self wants you to really focus on building for yourself. Now, of course, that may feel like a life purpose for a lot of cap dominance, but this energy, especially with Pluto, it's asking to find a much more deeper understanding and build for yourself, not just in terms of the material, but also in terms of the spiritual as well. Okay, and there's a lot of focus on self-worth. Where are you finding your sense of self-worth? Is it through the mundane? Is it through the material? Or is it really based on who you are? Is it based on your values, your principles, your ethics? You know, it's asking you to go much more deeper beyond just the material, just beyond more than the physical, and beyond just the mundane. With the South Node in the 8th house, the South Node shows the energy you're evolving and growing away from. This could have to do, now of course this is based on everyone's individual chart, but it could be based on either something profound you share with someone else, whether that's material resources or whether that's a relationship, an intimacy, or if it's some type of karmic cycle that you've been either constantly bumping your head into, or finding yourself that you're repeating, or that you've either been working towards. This is showing that that's the energy now you're evolving and growing away from. And with Jupiter also in the 8th house, that could really support you in working on those karmic lessons from a more spiritual standpoint. Let's talk about the eclipses. So February the 17th, we've got a solar eclipse in Aquarius at 28 degrees. And this may be the first beginning stages of this journey of working towards on building for yourself, your sense of security, self-worth. And it's far beyond just the physical and the material. So we've got that solar eclipse on Aquarius 28. This could be a new beginning, a new cycle, a new chapter where a new opportunity or something spiritually even shifts and changes for you regarding 2nd house matters. And then we have a solar eclipse in Leo at 20 degrees on August the 12th. So this is going to be impacting your 8th house, and because it's a solar eclipse and it's a South Node solar eclipse, it could either be a new beginning or a new cycle, a new chapter because of the solar eclipse influence, but then it can also have a lot to do with the past, as well as it could be an ending. It's a very open type of eclipse where anything goes. And with Jupiter's influence here as well, it could actually be very beneficial and positive as well. First of all, the sun loves being in Leo. It's at home in Leo. Then you got Jupiter, which also loves being in Leo. So these energies really amplify just more of a positive outcome, which could be associated with 8th house matters as well. And then we have a lunar eclipse in Virgo and Pisces, and these are the final eclipses. There's a lunar eclipse in Virgo at 12 degrees on March the 3rd, and that will be ending a cycle, ending a chapter in your 9th house of higher mind, wisdom, philosophies, what you believe in, as well as traveling. And then you have the final lunar eclipse in Pisces at 4 degrees. That's going to occur on August the 28th, which will be in your 3rd house, which is about your mind, how you think and process information, as well as communication in your daily environments and travels. So that's going to be an ending of a cycle. So you may feel something shifting, coming to an end, coming to a close. And then you have your new moon in Capricorn on January the 8th at 28 degrees. So those Caps that have planets in late Capricorn, this is very much more personal for you. I mean, it's a new moon in Capricorn, so it's your annual new moon. So every Capricorn will feel it, and it will be this new beginning, this new yearly cycle, new chapter, which is presenting you with just a lot of energy and drive and also vitality, because the sun and moon will be together. But especially those that have late degrees of Capricorn in their chart, this is going to be more personal for you, and it can have a lot to do with you, your identity, life path, ambitions, goals, and purpose. And then you've got your full moon in Capricorn at 8 degrees on June the 29th. The sun will be in Cancer and the moon will be in Capricorn, and that's a time where there could be some significant transformation that occurs in your life. It could be connected with you, your identity, goals, ambitions, life path, and purpose, as well as relationships. Now, speaking of relationships, we've got Venus retrogrades happening in 2026 in the sign of Scorpio, and then it will also move into Libra. So it kicks off its retrograde cycle on October the 3rd, starting off in the sign of Scorpio, which will be impacting your 11th house. Now, because this is a Venus retrograde, this is very much connected to love and relationships, where some people can go through breakups or some relationship healing, whether you're single or not. But then also, because it's in your 11th house, this could be connected with relationships with friends, other people, acquaintances, your social network. There may be friends that either you have to kind of like separate from, or there may be changes in your friendships, or you're reevaluating your friendships. You're perhaps even looking at your self-worth or your values as well. And then when Venus moves into Libra, it will enter your 10th house, and that could be reassessing and reevaluating your career, goals, ambitions, aesthetics, creativity, as well as values as well, connected to career and goals. So it's a time of reflection, and it's very much connected with the heart. For some, like I said, it could be very relationship orientated, and of course it matters based on your other planets in your chart. We also have Mercury retrograde happening a couple of times this year, and they will be in the water signs, which means these retrogrades are going to be much more emotional, much more sentimental, and they're definitely going to be pulling some heartstrings. They will be in the sign of Pisces, Scorpio, and Cancer. So Mercury retrograde is also a time to pause, stop, kind of reflect, reanalyze, and redirect your energy. So Capricorn, I'm wishing you all the best in the year of 2026. May all your goals and ambitions come into fruition. Let me know your big three. Let me know what you are looking forward to in the year of 2026. Leave a comment down below. If you want to listen to these episodes on the go, you can also listen on Apple Podcasts or Spotify. Make sure to hit the notification bell, and I'll see you in your horoscope for January 2026. Take care. Aquarius, welcome to your 2026 astrology horoscope and forecast. What a powerful year ahead. This is going to be a very important year for you, and you're going to be one of the main characters, because not only is the powerhouse Pluto the planet of transformation in your sign, but the eclipses will also be in your sign, the sign Aquarius and the opposite sign Leo. And this is because the nodes are shifting. The north node will move out of Pisces into Aquarius, and the south node will move out of Virgo into Leo. So when you have Pluto and the north node in the same sign, and the eclipses happening in that particular sign, Aquarius, you know it's going to be a very powerful, potent year ahead. So we've got a lot to get into, and I'm going to start off with the transits that are occurring in the year of 2026, and then I'll get into the eclipses. So let's start off with January the 26th, where Neptune enters Aries. So Neptune is going to re-enter Aries. We got a little sneak peek with 2025. But this is when the energy is going to really start to settle in. And not only is Neptune entering Aries, but also Saturn is entering Aries. So what does this mean? So Neptune is a planet of dreams, creativity, sensitivities. It's your intuition, and the shadow side can be about escaping and illusions. Saturn, on the other hand, is very opposite. Saturn is about structure, discipline. It's about working hard, energy, effort, time, commitment, responsibilities. The shadow side of Saturn is sometimes it can bring some roadblocks, or there could be some delays. So when these two energies come together, it's a little different. It's a little different in the sense of it's more of like a really strong awakening, an awakening of discovering the truth, coming to the truth about something that perhaps you were either running away from, or you were kind of looking at from rose-tinted glasses, or you were kind of like, let's say, under the illusion of. Saturn is going to really bring forth a lot of rude awakenings in a way, and a lot of truth, which can sometimes lead to disappointments, because sometimes what you thought was the reality of things is a little more sweeter than the actual reality. But this is necessary. This is necessary so that we can see everything for what it is, and so that we can really focus on what actually exists, what is actually factual, what is actually real, rather than the illusion or the fiction of what Neptune can sometimes portray. Now, for you, it's happening in your third house of the mind, of learning, of communication and travel. So during this time, there's almost like this really strong concentration. Saturn is really going to remove any type of illusions you've been under, any kind of approach you've been taking that has been very, let's say, positive, when the reality of the situation may not be that. So you may find yourself, just the way you are thinking, just the way you're perceiving things, just the way you're analyzing, and even your communication, people will actually notice it, where they can feel and see and hear it in your tone, where you are really evolving. You're evolving, and you're more direct, or perhaps just blunt, or more serious. There's like a more serious approach towards life that you're taking, and your outlook on life, and the way you're communicating. There's no more like sugarcoating anything, or being too positive. You're just going to be saying it how it is. And you know, the thing about Neptune and Saturn in the third house, if you work in like writing, any work that involves writing, especially even like creative writing, this gives you so much just ability and capability of really going over your work, like time after time going over your work. Like for an air sign, you can get bored really quickly, and you have to constantly be stimulated with new stuff. But Saturn in the third house gives you a lot of just a lot of room just to focus and concentrate and go over things again and again and again, and really focus on the details, where Neptune can give you a lot of creative inspiration, and Saturn can actually support that creative inspiration and make it work in a very structured format. So it can be very beneficial if you are working on anything that involves writing, reading, researching, or creating. Okay, but your mind during this time is really going to be expanding, and there may be a lot of spiritual insight, spiritual epiphanies, and spiritual awakenings that you may receive with this energy. Let's move on. Your ruler, Uranus, the planet of innovation and change, will move into Gemini again on April the 25th. So this energy is entering your 5th house. The 5th house is the house of joy. It rules over fun, pleasure, creativity, self-expression, romance, dating. It's very adventurous. So you may feel very confident to express yourself. You may find different unique ways of expressing yourself. This could be creative ways of expressing yourself, artistic ways of expressing yourself, from fashion, singing, acting, photography, anything got to do with technology as well. You're going to be very expressive and very just fun to be around. You're going to constantly be stimulated by things that are very adventurous. So it's really going to support you to be more liberated and free-spirited. So you may really have a good time with this transit. Your love life can be very exciting during this time. It may not be so serious, but there could be a lot of romantic interests. There may be a lot of relationships that are not that serious, but they're fun and they're keeping you stimulated. Now, of course, that is just based on an individual chart, but just Uranus in the 5th house, it can also attract a lot of partners that are just fun, exuberant, very unique and different, just like Uranus. So especially if you're working on, like, again, creativity, if you work in a creative environment, this can really support you to create a lot of art or express yourself in very unique ways that can really just stimulate you, but also people will be very just taken back by it because they've never perhaps seen anything like it. So that's a nice, fun transit as well. And it seems like you're definitely going to be wanting an adventure. Moving on, Chiron will enter Taurus on June the 19th. Chiron is known as a wounded healer. So when it enters a new sign or a new area of life, it can support us to become more aware of our insecurities or triggers or wounds that are still perhaps lingering around or we haven't really confronted or that are very destructive. Now, it's going to be moving into your 4th house. The 4th house has to do with home. It has to do with family, your personal life, your sense of security, stability, and the area of life that gives you your sense of belonging. So it seems like, think of it like your higher self, wanting you to work on this area of life more spiritually, work on this in a more nurturing manner. So there may be a lot of family healing you're doing during this time. There may be a lot of ancestral work, a lot of spiritual work around family, ancestry, roots, and also your sense of security. Maybe kind of like a trigger or something that you need to love more on or nurture more of or understand more and bring to light. So Chiron can really support you in your healing journey connected to the 4th house. June the 30th, Jupiter enters Leo, and it will enter your 7th house of relationships and other people. Typically, when Jupiter enters the 7th house, it can really attract a relationship that makes you feel really good, because Jupiter is that feel-good energy. And if you are in a relationship, it can just bring a feel-good factor in your relationship where you feel like you're in the honeymoon phase all over again. So there could definitely be a romantic attraction going on with another person, a new relationship coming into your life, or if you are in a relationship, it can again just make you feel more in love, because that's Jupiter. Now, Jupiter is known as the planet that brings forth expansion and positivity, but it's also an amplifier because it's this very larger than life energy. If you already have planets in your 7th house and Jupiter touches those planets or makes any other aspects to any other planets in your chart, it can amplify the energy. So that interpretation would be based on an individual chart, but just bear that in mind, because sometimes Jupiter can also amplify the energy to the point of there could be like more drama. For example, if you have Mars in your 7th house and Jupiter touches your Mars, on one hand, it can bring a lot of energy and a lot of excitement, a lot of perhaps sexual excitement into your life. But on the other hand, because Mars also rules over quarrels and temperament, and if you have Mars in the 7th house, yes, you can have this magnetic energy in terms of in a relationship, or it could represent your partner who's perhaps very like a Mars archetype, very masculine and assertive and direct. But it can also reveal the type of energy you can experience in relationships and partnerships with other people. And because Mars also rules over temper, this could also show that there's quarrels or that you experience in relationships. And if Jupiter hit that energy, that would expand it even more, and it may amplify that even more. So that's just like a very basic example. So Jupiter does bring expansion, but it can also amplify a lot of energy. Moving on, July the 26th, the North Node enters Aquarius and the South Node enters Leo. So the nodes move backwards. So the North Node will enter 29 degrees of Aquarius. So unlike every other planet that moves direct, the nodes move the other way around. And so the North Node and Pluto will be at quite a distance, whereas Pluto's in the early degrees of Aquarius, the North Node is right at the end. So it's a very interesting pattern between Pluto and the North Node. And eventually, yes, they will come into conjunction, but not in 2026. So with the North Node moving into Aquarius, it's moving into your 1st house, which means that the destiny, your higher self, is pushing you and moving you in a direction to focus on your identity, to focus on your goals and what you want to achieve and accomplish in this life that you're on, this journey that you're on. So there's a lot of focus on who you are and what you want from life and your life path and purpose. That's the 1st house. The 1st house is one of the most sensitive areas of life. It's one of the most important areas of life because it's a beginning. This could also mark a new beginning, a new chapter in your life. Whereas the South Node is in the 7th house, that's kind of what you're growing and evolving away from. So that could have to do with relationships. It could have to do with other people. But this energy is showing that the higher self wants you to prioritize yourself, and focus on you in this year of 2026 and for the next 18 months from July 2026 when the North Node enters Aquarius. So it's a big one, and it's a big one because the eclipses will occur in Aquarius and in Leo. And in the year of 2026, we're going to have 2 solar eclipses. One solar eclipse is occurring on February the 17th in the sign of Aquarius at 28 degrees. So those that have planets in Aquarius at 28 degrees or the late degrees of Aquarius, you will be very much impacted by this energy. And this energy is about new beginnings. It's about new cycles and new chapters because it's a solar eclipse. So there could be this profound shift that occurs in your life, a new opportunity that presents itself, or perhaps you find that something about you or your life changes, and then for the next 18 months you're on that journey of evolving through that journey that is connected with you, what you want to achieve in this life, your goals and your life path. The next solar eclipse we're going to have will be on August the 12th, and it will be in the sign of Leo at 20 degrees, and that will be in your opposite sign, which is really impacting relationships. So because this will be a South Node solar eclipse, it does have to do with the past. So it could have to do with a past relationship or a current relationship you're navigating through. Even though this is a solar eclipse, it's still an eclipse, so there could be some drastic change in a relationship. Now, this is a very interesting eclipse because typically with eclipses, especially the South Node, it always marks the end of something or some type of transformation occurs. especially like a closure of a certain cycle. But you also have Jupiter here, which is meant to be a benefic. So it seems like even though there's that south node energy and the solar eclipse in the 7th house and Jupiter, it still feels like there's more light here. It feels like there's more ease here. Like Jupiter is making it slightly easier. Yes, I did say that Jupiter is an amplifier, and then that is based on every chart, but there's still some type of positivity here. And I'm just giving you a basic example. And this doesn't apply to everyone. But let's say you're in a relationship and it's not going the way you want it to go, or you're not really feeling like you're compatible with each other. And let's say you have to part ways, or this was a moment of, going your own ways and parting, separating. That Jupiter energy is kind of making it a little more easier in a way, because it's still kind of providing you with just good energy, like positivity in a way. And even though it's in your opposite sign Leo, where there could be a lot of pride involved, and there could be a lot of stubbornness as well, that Jupiter energy is making it easier. Now, this won't apply to everyone. Remember, I'm working with the whole sign house system, and it really varies on your rising degree. So that's just the overall energy of the solar eclipse in Leo, where it's impacting relationships. For some, it could be some type of separation. For others, it could be a new beginning of a relationship, perhaps even somebody from the past where you felt like, time was kind of at odds and you couldn't really make it work, but perhaps that energy comes back into your life. It really varies. And then there just seems to be so many different types of energies here. So there could be multitudes of timelines. It really depends on everyone's unique chart. So the eclipse in Aquarius and your opposite sign Leo will begin in 2026. Now, I want to also talk about the full moon in Aquarius that you're going to have on July the 19th. And this full moon in Aquarius will be at 6 degrees. So take a look at your chart. So you're going to have the sun in Aquarius at 6 degrees, and then the full moon in Leo at 6 degrees. So that is also focusing on you, your life path, as well as relationships and other people. And those that are getting really impacted by this full moon are those that have early degrees of Aquarius. So if you have anything between, let's say, 5 to 8 degrees of Aquarius, this full moon is really impacting you. I mean, especially if you're hitting the exact degree of 6 degrees of Aquarius, and you'll definitely find a transformation happening with yourself, your life direction, as well as a relationship. Now, we also have 2 other eclipses. We got 2 lunar eclipses, one happening on March the 3rd in the sign of Virgo at 12 degrees. So that will be impacting your 8th house of what you share with others, resources, intimacy, and deep spiritual transformation. And we're really closing off the Virgo and Pisces energy. So this is like some sort of ending as well, a chapter coming to an end regarding the 8th house of what you share with others and deep intimacy and deep spiritual transformation. And then we've got a lunar eclipse in Pisces at 4 degrees on August the 28th, and that has to do with you, your self-worth, what you own, your resources. So there's some sort of transformation happening there as well, especially if you have those degrees, any planets in those degrees in your chart. Now this year in 2026, we also have Venus going retrograde. Venus retrograde will start off on October the 3rd in the sign of Scorpio in your 10th house. So this could have to do with relationships, but it could also have to do with career goals and ambitions as well, because it's in your 10th house. So Venus retrograde is asking for you to slow down, to reflect, navigate through either relationship stuff or anything regarding career goals and ambitions, and perhaps your creativity as well, or your self-worth that is associated with this area of life during this time. So there may be a lot of healing occurring. There may also be a lot of deep analysis and focus around what you want to achieve in this area of life. And by the time we move forward with Venus retrograde, you'll be able to redirect your energy. But the interesting part is that Venus retrograde will also enter Libra, so it will also impact your 9th house of the mind, higher learning, philosophies, beliefs, and travel. So there may be a slowing down there and a redirecting your energy in that area of life as well. Now, Mercury retrograde will occur in all the water signs in the year of 2026. So it's going to occur in Pisces, Cancer, and Scorpio. So that also requires a deep reflection, slowing down and redirecting your energy. And for you, it will be more intuitive. It's also going to be very much connected with mind, body, soul, spirit, work, spirituality, creativity, as well as your career goals and ambitions. So Aquarius rising, it's a big year for you, for me, for all of us. Aquarius dominance. I mean, we've got Pluto in our sign, the North Node changing into our signs, the eclipses. I'm looking forward to it. I'm looking forward to the year of 2026 and for the transformation to occur. So, let me know your big three. Leave a comment down below. Let me know what you're going through. Let me know what you're looking forward to in 2026. You can also listen to these episodes on the go on Spotify and Apple Podcasts. And I hope that this year is incredible for you and all the changes that you have been working hard towards, all the transformation that you've been putting all your energy into really comes into fruition. And I will speak with you in your January 2026 horoscope and forecast. Take care, and I hope again that this is a magical year for you. Pisces, welcome to your 2026 astrology, horoscope, and forecast. We've got a lot to talk about. Now, the eclipses will still occur in your sign in 2026. So many of you are still going through very strong life changes in 2026. This will ease off by the end of the year, because even though you can have like a final eclipse, let's say in summer, the energy still continues. The change still continues. The lessons, the shifts, the energy still continues. So for you, I'm going to say by the end of 2026, the eclipse energy will be cleared. Even though August the 28th, you have your lunar eclipse in your sign, let it integrate. Let it integrate, because these changes are really strong. And for many of you, life will be completely different to perhaps what it started off in 2026. Now, does that mean that everyone will be under this influence? No, because everyone has a unique chart and everyone has a unique soul blueprint and life path. However, I will go through the specific dates and share with you the degrees and which zodiacs may be impacted. So with that being said, let's get into it. I want to start off with your ruler, Neptune, the planet of dreams, the planet of sensitivities and intuition, spirituality, but also the planet of illusions. Neptune will re-enter Aries on January the 26th. So for the first couple of weeks, it's still going to be in your sign. However, it will then move forward and settle into Aries. Now, when Neptune is in your home sign, the energy is so strong and so amplified, right? Because it's at home. But now it's time to move away from all that energy and integrate the lessons. So Neptune is moving away from influencing you, your identity, and your life path and goals, and now it will be moving into the second house. So it's going to move into a new territory. It will move into the area of life that rules over self-worth, which then really determines how much abundance you have into your life. It determines finances and all that you own in the material realm. That's where Neptune will now start its journey in. Even though you've got a sneak peek of it, it's going to really settle in 2026. Now, not only is Neptune moving here, Saturn is also moving here on February the 13th. Now, with Saturn, there may have been some tough growing pains and learning really strong life lessons. There may have been some delays, or there may have been some restrictions, but Saturn is a teacher. Saturn is the wise one, and Saturn supports you to learn the art of patience and divine timing, and it supports you to mature and become the wise sage as well. With Saturn and Neptune both moving into the second house, this is about being extremely sober and realistic and mature and committed to becoming more mature and wiser in the area of life that rules over self-worth, what you own, resources, and finances. No more looking at everything from rose-tinted glasses. No more sugarcoating anything or being irresponsible. Saturn's like, no, any type of illusions you have connected to this area of life, any perspective you have that you're looking through from rose-tinted glasses, no, we're going to strip that all away. We're going to leave nothing but the truth, and we're going to be really realistic about this area of life. And there may be some self-worth issues that come up, especially with Saturn and Neptune together, that you may have to learn about yourself, your self-worth, and then be on that kind of self-worth, self-healing journey as well. And you'll start to see that ripple effect of when you start to work on your self-worth and your self-belief, and how much you believe in yourself and how worthy you feel, you'll start to feel and see that ripple effect from the material realm when it comes to abundance. So that's where the Saturn and Neptune influence will be for you in 2026. And throughout 2027 as well, because they both will be in that area of life. So it's about being very realistic and knowing your responsibilities with this area of life. And also, perhaps with Saturn, it's about learning how to structure this area of life and being more disciplined with this area of life as well. April the 25th. Uranus enters Gemini. Now, we already had a sneak peek with this, but again, this energy is now starting to really settle in, and it will move into your fourth house. Uranus is a planet of innovation and change. So whenever it changes signs and whenever it changes areas of life, it really starts to shake things up. And that's why sometimes it can be unpredictable. With Uranus in the fourth house rules over home and family, your sense of belonging, security. This energy may be unpredictable for a while, or perhaps there's some changes happening, rapid changes that you're not able to really predict because they're coming out of nowhere. Or perhaps you feel like you need more independence, or you need more freedom, or you need more change, or you need more stimulation in this area of life. So perhaps there's a lot of moving around, or a lot of relocating. Perhaps there's a lot of changes in your personal life and regarding family as well. Perhaps with Uranus as well, and we're saying perhaps because it's different for everyone. It's not the same. But also Uranus has that, like I said, it's unpredictable. So you never know which way Uranus is going to shake up your life. On a spiritual level, Uranus may want to break free from certain like family karma, because when we go into the fourth house, because it's a house of home and family and your roots and ancestry, and you get a little more deeper, you can really get into a lot of family karma as well. You can dive deep into past lives as well from the fourth house. But Uranus is all about independence and freedom, and it doesn't want to be attached to anything. It doesn't want to be in a box. So for some, this could manifest in terms of wanting your own personal freedom, or wanting to break certain ancestral and generational patterns and become your own person. So there could be a lot of spiritual, generational, family healing work as well with Uranus. Moving on, Chiron. Chiron is known as a wounded healer that can support us to work on some of our insecurities, triggers, and wounds. Chiron will be entering Taurus on June the 19th, which means it will move out of your second house and into your third house. Now, the third house is about the mind, it's about learning, it's about communication. So we're looking at reading, writing, speaking. The third house also has to do with like your daily environments, the daily places you travel to or commute to as well. Chiron in the third house may influence you to be very analytical and very logical about insecurities or triggers or wounds, whether that they are from the past or are ongoing. It can be very beneficial in terms of support you to understand things from a more logical perspective. Pisces is a very yin intuitive energy. It's a much more spiritual energy, so it likes to perceive things and look at things from the more yin, the more right side of the brain, whereas the Chiron energy can actually, especially in the third house, when we're looking at it from the third house, it can be way more yang and logical and intellectual and be very analytical. So it can provide you with a lot of insights about any type of wounds that you have experienced and then support you to navigate through them and move forward. So that can have a very healing effect on you. And that could also be through communication, healing a lot through communication, especially when it comes to communicating with yourself, having a better communication with yourself or with others as well. Moving on, June the 30th, Jupiter, the planet of expansion, enters Leo. Jupiter will be moving into your 6th house. The 6th house has to do with your daily life, routine, habits, wellness, self-care, as well as work. So there could be a lot of expansion occurring in this area of life and a lot of abundance occurring. This could be as simple as changing something in your everyday life and making it more exciting or more about you, making it more personal about you, changing up your schedule or your routine to make yourself the priority, because Jupiter in Leo is very prideful of itself and it makes itself a priority. It's also very generous with other people, and the 6th house is also a very giving area of life as well. The 6th house has to do with your kind of everyday work as well, so there could be a positive change there. Now with Jupiter, even though it's known as a benefic and it can be very positive, because it's energy that is very much larger than life, if you already have planets in the 6th house, this could actually amplify the energy. So it really varies from chart to chart, but Jupiter is also known as an amplifier. So it can make things bigger than they actually are. So for example, if you're going through some type of crisis, it can just add more drama into the mix. Now, I'm not saying that's what's going to happen. I'm just giving you kind of like a basic example of Jupiter. With Jupiter in the 6th house, you may even feel like you want to kind of change up your work life and do something that is more generous or more giving. Like I said, Jupiter in Leo is just, it's very loving, it's very warm, and it may influence you that way in your work environment as well. So it could have to do with a job change. Let's move on to July the 26th. The North Node enters Aquarius. So the North Node has been in Pisces, and it's been impacting you. It's been impacting your life, your destiny, and your life path and purpose. And there may have been a lot of karmic endings as well as beginnings that have been very much destined to have happened. Now, this energy will change on July the 26th, yet you still will be having the eclipses in your sign and your opposite sign, Virgo. So with the North Node of the 12th house, there's a lot of focus on your spirituality. There's a lot of focus on your intuition, a lot of focus on dreams, your connection with divine, universe, whatever your beliefs are, as well as your creativity. Now, with the North Node in the 12th house, this is showing where you can think of it, where your higher self wants you to move forward in, and where your higher self wants you to expand further in as well. With the North Node in the 12th house, the South Node will be in the 6th house. So this is also where the Jupiter energy will be. And it has a lot to do with boundaries as well, creating boundaries with yourself, for yourself, as well as creating boundaries with others, and particularly it could be with other people you work with. Now, with the South Node in Leo, it's about moving away from this energy, moving away from past habits or patterns that have not necessarily been serving you. It could even be a pattern or habit of being too giving or putting yourself last and not making yourself a priority, which Jupiter can actually support you in. So with that Jupiter and South Node energy, it can actually work out very much in your favor, where some of the lessons you needed to learn with the South Node, well, here comes Jupiter lending you a helping hand. So there may be a lot of growth with your spirituality. There may be a lot of growth with processing like sensitivities and emotions and learning more about how to work with your intuition, how to tap into some of your psychic senses as well. You know, Aquarius is a very galactic energy, so there could be a lot of spiritual epiphanies, awakenings, a lot of spiritual evolution occurring as well. And remember, Pluto is also in the 12th house. And the eclipses will also occur in the 12th and 6th house axis. And when you have the eclipse in Aquarius, this could also be like a new cycle or a new chapter in your spiritual journey. The North Node could also support you to move forward from negative habits or patterns or habits that are associated with like escaping or running away from what is actually occurring. With the Pisces energy, especially Neptune being your ruler, and when we're looking at the 12th house, there could be a lot of escaping tendencies. So the North Node in Aquarius could actually kind of support you and work in a different way, especially with Pluto here, with an eclipse happening on August the 12th in Leo, where the South Node will be in the 6th house. This could have to do with either creating something new for yourself that prioritizes yourself, that supports you in your wellness, your self-care journey. It could have to do with a new job, or it could also have to do with creating new boundaries, like as simple as creating new boundaries between you and other people, especially when it comes to taking care of yourself and making yourself a priority, or at work as well. But there seems to be like this new direction, this new shift occurring in your life, and then really prioritizing mind, body, soul, and spirit, prioritizing your wellness and making yourself a priority, because even just the Pisces energy can be very giving, and it's very much because it's very just on a more divine manifestation. It's more empathic naturally, so it's about setting boundaries and in being very careful with your energy and where you're putting your energy. Let's move on to Venus, the planet of love and relationships, because she's going retrograde in 2026. She'll start off her retrograde in Scorpio in October and move back into Libra. So we're looking at the 9th house and the 8th house. So the 8th house has to do with what you share and own with others. This could have to do with a relationship. This could have to do with intimacy. This area of life also rules over deep spiritual transformation. So there could be a lot you're navigating through during this period, because Venus retrograde supports you to dive deeper, reflect on your relationship, analyze your relationship. There could be things that come up during this time that need to be addressed, where the energy of the relationship needs to be resolved or redirected, or come to some sort of understanding. It could even have to do with boundaries. You know, boundaries is a big one, especially with the 8th house as well. When Venus moves into the 9th house, this could also have to do with travel. It could have to do with perhaps you had plans to travel, or there's some type of setback, or you kind of have to wait, or even when it comes to faith and what you believe in and philosophies. This could have to do with your relationship. Like, are you in alignment with each other? You know, do you give each other grace for whatever you believe in, or do you clash? Are you not getting along? Are your values not in alignment? So there could be some relationship stuff that comes up, and it's going to start off in Scorpio. So Scorpio always brings up what's hidden. It brings up the secrets. It brings up anything that has been hiding deep down beneath the surface. And we're also going to have Mercury retrogrades happening in all the water signs in 2026, we're going to have a Mercury retrograde in your sign starting February the 26th, which is going to be very key for you. And Mercury retrograde is a time where it asks us to, again, reflect, to analyze our life and where we're headed and what we've been up to. It asks us to resolve certain energies, depending on, of course, where it's transiting. And for you, it'll be your first house. So we're looking at you, your identity. We're looking at your goals and life path and purpose here as well. It asks you to also redirect your energy. We also have Mercury retrograde happening in the sign of Cancer as well as Scorpio. So there's going to be a lot of emotions that come up. There's going to be a lot of working towards your intuition and really integrating it so you're able to tap into it. Now let's move on to the lunar events. So we've already spoken about the Aquarius and Leo eclipses. Let's talk about the final Pisces eclipses and the Virgo eclipses. So March the 3rd, we got a lunar eclipse in Virgo at 12 degrees, which will be in your 7th house. So the sun will be in Pisces and the moon will be in Virgo. So that is going to be very strong for you, especially if you have either Virgo, Pisces at 12 degrees or very close by. This could be a major shift or change in you, your life, your identity, your life direction, path, goals, or a relationship or a committed type of partnership. There could be some sort of ending. There could be some sort of change, like a major change that occurs. And sometimes eclipses, even though it can impact two areas of life or an axis, it could actually have a ripple effect on your entire chart life. So it could impact your relationships, but that kind of has a ripple effect in terms of your home and your family dynamics or career goals. So look at your chart and take a look at where 12 degrees of Pisces and Virgo is. This energy has been brewing up. It has been gaining momentum. It may have been connected to 2025 and what you've gone through in those eclipses as well. You have a new moon in your sign on March the 18th, and this new moon will occur at 28 degrees of Pisces in your first house. So if you have Pisces planets at 28 degrees or close by, this may be very important for you. This is a new beginning, a new chapter, a new cycle. This is your annual new moon, so it's about a rebirth, and it is connected with you, your identity, goals, life path, and purpose. August the 28th, we got a lunar eclipse in your sign at 4 degrees. So again, this is super important. Take a look at your chart. Take a look at where Pisces is in your chart. And especially if you have any planets at 4 degrees or close by, early Pisces, because this is going to be very important. And this is the final eclipse in Pisces until we enter the Aquarius and Leo energy. So this may be some sort of finale, some type of closure that you receive. And if you've been perhaps working hard on something, working hard on a goal, working hard on manifesting something, this could be a time where that energy you've been kind of like this journey you've been on where you've been working hard and putting all the energy and the effort, this may be the time where you kind of receive that energy back. It comes back to you, or this cycle, this journey you've been on, it comes into fruition. Okay, so it's a very important lunar eclipse because it's one of the final ones, and it's a lunar eclipse which has a lot of emphasis typically on endings, but remember that endings are for new beginnings to occur. So there's a lot going on in 2026. You got the final eclipses in your sign. You have a lot of new energies occurring for you in 2026, and also Mercury retrograde happening in your sign. Pisces, I'm wishing you all the best in 2026. May it be everything you are hoping, wishing, and working towards. And let me know your big three. Let me know what you are looking forward to in 2026. Leave a comment down below. Remember, you can listen to these episodes on the go on Spotify or Apple Podcasts. Subscribe, click on the notification bell, and I'll see you in your January 2026 horoscope. Take care.